Julian gestured toward the pot and the remaining stack of instant ramen packets. Milo's eye twitched. Let him cook it himself. Hell no. He stood up abruptly. Hey, there's still one bowl left that nobody's eating. Just then, one of the cameramen approached Liam, leaning in to whisper something in his ear. Liam's eyes widened as Milo strode over, ready to claim the noodles. He watched in disbelief as Liam smoothly rolled off the hammock. Actually, I'm getting a little hungry, Liam said, not giving Milo a chance to even reach for it. He snatched the last prepared bowl and began slurping the noodles down. You! Milo's hand froze in midair, his face burning with humiliation. Seriously? He doesn't come over if he doesn't eat. The second Milo makes a move, the guy starts inhaling the food. Was this kid put on Earth specifically to screw with him? Seeing Sienna watching Liam with a playful smile while sucking on a lollipop, Milo knew he couldn't make a scene. He shot Liam a death glare, spun around, and stomped back to the wooden bench to start boiling his own water. The livestream chat was eating it up. That's right. Eat it. Can't let good ramen go to waste. Yes, eat his noodles, king. We love to see it. This factory guy is the main character, and he knows it LMAO. Backstage, Brandon Jung finally let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Forget everything else. The most important thing was keeping the audience entertained. Besides, if his boy was going to be on a show, he had to make sure he was treated right. But the extra budget was something he hadn't fully considered. In his rush to get Liam on board, he'd almost forgotten that detail. Watching the close-up of Liam devouring the noodles, the corner of Brandon's mouth twitched. Sorry, buddy. You brought this on yourself. He stared at his phone for a long moment before finally dialing Isabel Hamilton's number. After a brief negotiation, Brandon agreed to a price of $100,000 to bring Noelle Hamilton on as a surprise guest, set to enter the show on the fourth day. Ma'am, Mr. Lynn, he's... Evelyn Reed burst into Cassandra Thorne's office in the Zenith Tower penthouse, but her words died in her throat. On the massive screen before Cassandra, the hell or paradise. Livestream was playing. Cassandra swiveled in her chair, her face a perfect, emotionless mask. A jolt went through Evelyn. What was that old saying? The sea is always calmest before the hurricane. She swallowed hard, forcing a nervous laugh. Ma'am, you're watching the show too. Cassandra's expression didn't change. She raised her eyes slightly. Yes, it was just one word, but it landed like a stone in Evelyn's chest. Her heart pounding, she asked, Ma'am, should I put pressure on the production team? Have them pull Ms. Riley from the show? To her surprise, Cassandra waved a dismissive hand. No need. Evelyn was baffled. Ever since Cassandra had met Liam, her actions had become utterly unpredictable. What's she planning now? You may leave. Cassandra's voice was flat. With a light push of her foot, she turned her chair back to the screen. Evelyn took a deep breath. Yes, ma'am. She left, and silence once again filled the room. Cassandra stared, unblinking, at the image of Liam slurping his noodles. So happy, now that he was away from her. He was even eating that disgusting, processed food with relish. A flicker of anger ignited in her eyes, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. For days, besides finalizing the hostile takeover of the Vance family's assets, a much larger anxiety had been gnawing at her. Since he'd left, her life had returned to its previous state of quiet order. It was the exact same life she had lived before, yet now it felt unbearably dull. Night after night, she tossed and turned, with no appetite for food or drink. His face was always there, floating in her mind, along with every tiny moment they had shared. These thoughts fueled a constant, burning desire to lock him by her side again. But he had said that wasn't what he wanted. So what did he want? What could she possibly do to make him remember her, to brand himself onto her soul forever? As these questions swirled, a raw anxiety surfaced in her eyes. And now, Riley was with him. Cassandra knew exactly what her little sister was capable of. Riley had been the girl everyone loved since she was in school. Bubbly, playful, a magnet for attention. Her little displays of arrogance only made people adore her more, thanks to that face. Her parents were always telling Cassandra to be more like Riley, to loosen up a little. But the weight of the family business had never left her time for such frivolities. Now, though, she wondered. Perhaps Liam would prefer someone with Riley's personality. She massaged the bridge of her nose, her eyes never leaving Liam's form on the screen. Maybe. I'll let Riley try. At that thought, the possessiveness in Cassandra's gaze sharpened, scattering like shards of glass. She narrowed her eyes, a fingertip resting on her crimson lips. If he continued to dislike what she offered, and if she could never find what he truly desired, then she wouldn't hesitate to trap him here for the rest of his life. even if it meant using the most despicable means. Whatever it took, no matter how dirty, she would make Liam remember her. She took a deep, steadying breath and picked up her teacup, taking a small sip. But in the next second, her eyes fell back on the monitor, and a tidal wave of fury rose within her. On screen, Riley was smiling, reaching out to gently wipe the corner of Liam's mouth, who had just finished his noodles. And Liam, he looked utterly flattered. He was enjoying it. How dare he? Cassandra hurled the porcelain cup against the floor. It shattered with a deafening crash that echoed through the silent office. From outside the door, Evelyn's panicked voice called out, "Ma'am, what happened? Are you all right? Get out." Cassandra shrieked, her chest heaving. She glared at the screen, snatching her phone. She found Riley's contact, pressed the voice memo button, and unleashed her rage. "Riley Thorne, you have a lot of nerve, touching what's mine. I want you back here tonight, or I'll ship you to a goddamn diamond mine in Siberia. You little brat." She fired off 3 messages in a fury. A moment later, a reply popped up. It was from Paige. "Ms. Thorne, is there something I can help you with? Ms. Riley is participating in the show. I have her phone." The message registered, and Cassandra froze. Damn it. She had forgotten Riley was filming. She came back to herself with a jolt, her hand flying to her chest, feeling the violent, frantic thumping of her own heart. She was stunned. Had she really, once again, completely lost her composure over Liam? No, it couldn't be like this. Cassandra stared at her own hand, hovering in the air, trembling slightly. For the first time, a look of genuine shock appeared on her perpetually cold, arrogant face. She glanced from her palm to the image of Liam on the screen. Could it be that she liked him? No, impossible. How could she like someone? In her world, nothing had ever truly caught her eye. Everything that came into her orbit, people, resources, assets, was nothing more than an equal exchange of value and benefits. She was incapable of liking someone. The word didn't exist in her vocabulary. After reinforcing her own internal logic, Cassandra took several deep, ragged breaths, finally managing to calm her spiraling emotions. It was just a wipe of the mouth, she told herself, completely unaware that she was grinding her back teeth together. Next time, she would do it herself. Yes, she had learned a new move. In the future, she would be the one to helpfully wipe his face for him. The sight of Riley's saccharine smile made Cassandra's irritation mount. That hand, fluttering near Liam's face after wiping his mouth. It was like a fly buzzing around her food. She couldn't stand it. Damn it. I can't take it anymore. Her gaze turned vicious. She snatched her phone, pressed the voice memo button, and snarled a command at Paige. "I don't care how you do it, but you will get a message to Riley Thorne immediately. If she ever dares to touch my things again, I will make her regret she was ever born." On the other end, Paige trembled as she listened to the message, the sound of Cassandra's unbridled fury radiating from the speaker. It was over. It was completely and utterly over. On the verge of tears, she quickly sent a text to Brandon Jung, begging him to find a way to get Riley to call her back as soon as possible, off camera. The livestream chat was scrolling furiously. Whoa, she's wiping his mouth. Sienna is so pretty. Ah, she's so gentle. What did this factory guy do to deserve this? He should die. Why isn't the guy on the show me? Because you're not as hot as he is. Do we even need to vote tonight? I think Sienna's already made her choice. Maybe it's a smokescreen. Let's see what happens. Back on the island, Liam reflexively wiped his own mouth. Thanks. The smile in Sienna's eyes deepened. She rested her chin on the fluffy teddy bear, tilting her head. "Hey, big brother," she said sweetly. "You ate my noodles. So tonight, you have to sleep with me." In an instant, Liam felt a chill run down his spine. He stared at Sienna, dumbfounded. Seriously, why does this adorable girl keep talking about sleeping with me? He wasn't the only one who was shocked. The live stream chat exploded. So direct. Is she for real? It's day 1, and she's coming in this hot. Holy. What kind of luck does he have, getting picked by Sienna Shaw? Crying Aaron, why isn't it me sleeping with Sienna? On sight, Sienna's words hung in the air, clear as day. Misty and Gia's faces fell. It was obvious Sienna was running the show, and they were stuck in a reactive position, unsure what to do. Milo was the first to object. "Ms. Shaw, why would you pick him? He's just some broke blue collar." Julian cut him off, but his face was also full of disapproval. "Ms. Shaw, the day isn't over yet, and it's not time to choose partners. We should probably figure out our sleeping arrangements and how we're going to survive here first." Before he could finish, Sienna cut him off with a roar. "Who I sleep with is none of your damn business." Her cute face was a mask of impatience. She threw her lollipop to the ground and stomped on it, shattering it into tiny pieces. Everyone froze. Sienna turned back to Liam, the anger on her face vanishing as if it had never been there, replaced by that same sweet smile. "Brother, let's stay together tonight, okay?" She was openly laying on the charm, a little vixen in a playful, innocent package. Liam swallowed hard, a frown creasing his brow. He'd been hoping one of the others would intervene, but Sienna had just shut them all down with one outburst. Seriously? Was he really going to have to spend the night with her? The image of Cassandra Thorne flashed through his mind. Hiss. No, wait. He was away from the Thorne family now. Cassandra had said she would let him go. What was he afraid of? Besides, Brandon had promised him more money if he played along. And right now, money was the one thing he desperately needed. 7 days. If he could just get through 7 days, he could take the cash, find some quiet town to settle down in, and live a life of peaceful freedom. How great would that be? And so, under the stunned gazes of the other contestants and the eager anticipation of the entire livestream audience, he nodded. Okay. The chat went into a frenzy. Let's go. Factory Guy is a legend. He agreed. We have our first couple. My man has main character plot armor. For real. Lock it in. Ship it. On the island, Julian and the others looked pale, especially the other two women. Sienna had made the first move, which meant they had to act fast. Misty made her play. Julian, let's be partners tonight. Not to be outdone, Gia turned to Hector. Well then, Hector. Unsurprisingly, both men agreed immediately. It was a no-brainer. They hadn't been picked by Sienna, but at least they had another option. As long as they weren't the one loser left standing, it was a win. Seeing the three pairs form, Milo panicked. Wait, what about me? You're all paired up, so... What? Am I supposed to stay on the island by myself tonight? But the other three couples were already busy getting to know each other. No one paid him any attention. Milo watched them, his teeth grinding in frustration. He aimed all his anger at Liam. A damn factory worker. How dare he steal her from me? He saw Liam and Sienna already walking side by side toward the shore, and desperation took over. Ms. Shaw, stay with me tonight. After the show airs, I'll have my dad invest in your next tour, he yelled, rushing forward and grabbing Sienna's shoulder. The next second, Sienna turned, her lower lip trembling. Her big, round eyes glistened with unshed tears. She shrank back, grabbing onto Liam's arm and whimpering. Brother, you have to protect me. This guy's so mean, he's grabbing my shoulder and it hurts so much. Hiss. Her cherubic face was streaked with tears, her eyes misty, and her pink lips pouted. She clutched the large teddy bear with one hand, her knuckles white. Seeing this impossibly fragile scene, Milo froze. It made him want to break her. If they were in a private room, he would have already had his hands all over her. Luckily for him, they were on a beach, and the cameras hadn't caught up yet, so his reaction went unfilmed. Liam was stunned by the girl's two-faced performance. The feeling of her hand on his arm sent a jolt through him. This was getting complicated. He felt a flicker of familiarity in her tone, but he couldn't place it. He knew so little about the Thorne family. In New York, everyone knew of the 4 great families in Zenith Corp, but the Thornes themselves were an enigma. A family of that stature didn't expose themselves to the public eye. This girl was probably just some rich kid with a powerful background. Liam took a deep breath. So what do you want me to do about it? Sienna turned her head, her voice a pathetic whimper. Brother, hit him. The contrast between her angelic face and her vicious words was jarring. Thinking she must be joking, Milo immediately took it as his cue, hastily letting go of her. Sorry, he stammered apologetically. I got carried away. I didn't mean to be so rough. He was being completely sincere, but Liam knew better. He'd seen the flash of cunning in her eyes. She was doing this on purpose. Then again, hadn't Brandon said he'd get paid if he just went along with her? If that was the case, he couldn't be blamed for what happened next. He'd play along with the little actress. He was curious to see what kind of poison she was brewing in her little gourd. A slow smile spread across Liam's face. He said completely unexpectedly, okay. Huh. Milo stared, and before he could even start cursing, a sharp pain erupted in his abdomen. He looked up just in time to see Liam's foot flying toward him again. Arg! Milo screamed. He never imagined Liam would actually get physical. The force of the kick sent him stumbling backward, but Liam gave him no chance to recover. In a flash, Liam launched another kick, the hard toe of his leather shoe connecting squarely with Milo's face. With a sickening thud, Milo collapsed to the ground. Sand sprayed into the air as he landed, and he clutched his face with one hand and his stomach with the other, writhing in agony. You son of a bitch. You actually hit me. I'm gonna have my dad destroy you. Sienna was stunned, too. She hadn't expected that her casual suggestion would result in actual violence. No wonder her sister had brought this man home. He really was different. Seeing the commotion, a cameraman sprinted over. "Mr. Vance, are you all right? Quick, call 911. Now." The camera followed, zooming in. Fights weren't uncommon, but a public assault on a reality show was gold. The first wave of comments in the chat were critical of Liam, but as soon as the camera landed on Sienna's tear-streaked face, the tide turned. "He deserved it. She didn't pick you, dude. Why are you getting grabby?" "Yeah, and he made my Sienna cry. Hitting you was too good for you. Factory guy, you're a hero. That was so satisfying, OMG. Don't worry about revenge. Factory guy, we got your back. Hashtag factory fam. LOL, somebody get him to a hospital. If they wait any longer, the wound will scab over." This complete reversal left Brandon, who had been watching the drama unfold, utterly stunned. This Milo guy was the son of a major real estate developer. If something serious happened to him on the show, his entire production would be dead in the water. He panicked, quickly calling the on-site crew to get the nearest medical team to take care of Milo. He hadn't expected his friend to be this impulsive. Frowning, Brandon was about to call Liam to talk some sense into him when he saw Sienna on camera, whimpering to a staff member. He immediately cranked up the volume on his monitor. "My arm is all swollen, and little brother Liam already agreed to sleep with me. So can we please leave now?" She pouted, clutching Liam's arm tighter, her face half buried in his sleeve. The cameraman was momentarily charmed by the sight. In his daze, he saw a message pop up from Brandon. "Let them go. Cut the feed to the other two couples for now." With the director's order, the cameraman nodded quickly. "Yes, you can. Ms. Shaw, Mr. Lynn, please proceed to the Oracle Bay Resort." He then gestured for a staff member to bring a small sightseeing boat around. The live feed switched. As the boat approached, the corner of Liam's mouth twitched. So, there was a new set. He'd actually thought they were going to have to spend 7 days on this deserted island. Beside him, Sienna tugged on his sleeve, her sweet, harmless smile back in place. "Brother, the boat's here. Let's go." Liam didn't refuse. "Fine." And just like that, they became the first official couple, unlocking the next location ahead of everyone else. Since there were no cameras during the transfer, the moment they were on the boat, Liam casually pulled his arm free from Sienna's grasp. He sat down by the railing, crossed his arms, and quietly watched the sea. His deliberate act of distancing himself made Sienna raise an eyebrow. "Oh, so he was just acting for me back there." All thoughts of admiring the scenery vanished. A deep sense of intrigue grew in her eyes. She turned, leaned in close to him, and tilted her head, her gaze fixed on his. "Don't you like me, big brother?" Her question was blunt, more direct than any woman he had ever met. But Liam's gaze went past her face, to the seagulls soaring in the sky. They flew in flocks, wings spread wide, circling low over a distant pier. He suddenly remembered a line of poetry that had struck him like lightning. "The vast sea lets the fish leap. The high sky lets the birds fly." Here, under the boundless sky, sitting on this boat, he possessed something incredibly precious, absolute freedom. He was finally in his own domain. Liam's eyes deepened, filled with the satisfaction of a hard-won peace. Wealth? He'd tried that extravagant life. He didn't like it. Power? He'd held some, and he despised it. Women? No. Anything related to other people would ultimately betray you. In this world, no one was another soulmate, and no one would be unconditionally good to you. Every unexpected surprise, every romantic gesture, was just a calculated move. Just as he'd been a blank slate when he came into this world, everything he knew was only what certain people wanted him to know. His gaze returned to Sienna's face, meeting her curious, pathetic eyes. He said, "I helped you out, Ms. Shaw. I trust you'll help me with the fallout." Sienna was stunned. Was I not pretty enough? Was my body not good enough to earn his favor? From the day she was born, she had been showered with praise. When she attended the most exclusive private schools, she effortlessly outshone every other heiress, and that was without even using the Thorne family name. Love letters, roses, dinner invitations, the offers from men were endless. She never had to do much. A single coquettish glance, a sweet little smile, and she could make any man's face flush and heart race. When she was on stage, shining under the spotlight at her sold-out concerts, the frenzied roars from her male fans were so intense, she sometimes felt like she could get pregnant just by tripping and falling in the crowd. And yet, this man had zero interest in her. He's faking it. He must be faking it. There wasn't a man alive that she, Riley Thorne, couldn't conquer. A playful glint appeared in Sienna's eyes. It's the 21st century, and this guy is playing hard to get with me? Huh, let's see just how high-level his game really is. Sienna blinked. resting her chin on her teddy bear's head. Her eyes drooped slightly as she stared straight at Liam, her voice soft and sticky. "But I like you, big brother." She fluttered her eyelashes, pouting. "I like you from the first moment I saw you. I want you to be my boyfriend." Her voice trailed off, her tone becoming weaker, radiating a pitiable plea. Faced with what she perceived as his playing hard to get, she had chosen to go on an all-out offensive. Paired with her adorable face, it was a combination no man could resist. For instance, the staff member driving the boat couldn't help but glance over. His expression shifted from shock to anguish as he clutched his chest, his mouth agape with unspeakable envy. A confession. Already? They just met. What kind of luck does this kid have to be chosen by Sienna Shaw right off the bat? The legendary love at first sight. When will it be my turn for such outrageous fortune? However, Liam was clearly immune. He looked at Sienna, who was professing her deep affection for him, and calmly posed a question. "Is it really love at first sight? Are you sure you like me, and not just my face?" His question nearly fried her CPU. She never imagined that after such a direct and saccharine advance, Liam would still have the capacity for rational thought. They always said men were carnal animals, their brains and their bodies ruled by a single impulse. But this Liam was different. No wonder her sister had kept him for half a month, even letting him stay at Black Lake Manor. Conquering a man like this would provide a sense of accomplishment unlike any other. "All right, big sister, let me give it a try first." Sienna lowered her head, a faint smile playing on her lips. Unfazed, she raised a hand to wipe away a tear from the corner of her eye, then looked up, her tone still heart-wrenchingly pathetic. She said, "I've never been in a relationship before. I don't even know what love is. But when I saw you, brother, my heart started beating so fast. I never felt like this before. I think this must be love at first sight." Her moving words drifted across the boat, carried on the air to the operator's ears. The man nearly fell out of his seat. "Damn it, why can't good things like this ever happen to me? If this airs, the show is going to explode." He quickly straightened up, but he couldn't help but strain his ears, eavesdropping shamelessly. As Sienna spoke, she reached out her free hand, grabbed Liam's, and stuffed it into the fluff of her teddy bear. "Brother, if you don't believe me, you can feel it," she mumbled. "My heart has been pounding like crazy ever since I saw you." "Don't." Liam yanked his hand back forcefully. If this had been before, faced with such a beautiful invitation, he might have succumbed. But things are different now. He was over all that. More importantly, he knew that pies don't just fall from the sky. He wouldn't believe for a second that she was being this forward without some kind of ulterior motive. After so much deception and betrayal, it was hard for him to trust anyone. Facing Sienna's stunned expression, he could only say, "You're just inexperienced. I don't believe in love at first sight." "But I do." Sienna was getting anxious, her tone becoming rushed and pleading. "Brother, I like you. It's okay if you don't like me now. I just want you to give me a chance to get to know you." The rejection had clearly flustered her, making her forget her own status. Her words sounded like a humble plea. The boat operator had never witnessed such a desperate appeal, especially not from the leader of a top idol group like Sienna Shaw. Is this guy made of cement? How can his heart be so hard? He was filled with envy and frustration, but he could only resign himself to steering the boat. Liam looked at Sienna with genuine surprise. He was now truly curious about what her objective was, that she was willing to humble herself to this degree. But none of that mattered. A faint smile touched his lips as he shook his head. "Ms. Shaw, this is just a momentary impulse. I'm just a passerby in your life. You've seen me, you felt a spark, and now you can forget it. It'll be fine. Just like this show will eventually have its finale. There was no point in starting something when you already knew the ending." The process held no meaning for him. Liam's words were delivered without a moment's hesitation, tinged with a cool indifference and distance. He was sitting right there in front of her, a solid, physical presence, yet Sienna felt as if there was an impenetrable barrier between them. It was a barren land in her field of knowledge, a higher plane she had yet to reach. In that instant, a thought popped into her head. I can't win against him. No, that wasn't it. Their levels were not even in the same league. It was as if she, with her pretty face, had effortlessly climbed into the diamond tier, while Liam was already a king-level player with a heart sealed in cement. She unconsciously bit her lip. The vast difference in their levels made her hesitate. She realized that, as she was now, she wasn't qualified to flirt with Liam. Forget it. Maybe I should leave this tough nut for my sister to crack. Sienna said no more. Before they knew it, the boat had arrived at its destination. The production team had spared no expense, booking a high-end venue. In front of the Oracle Bay Resort, Sienna's gaze fell upon a luxurious swimming pool set in the courtyard. She raised an eyebrow. Her eyes twinkled, a mischievous idea taking root. Standing at the entrance, she pointed at the pool with a sly smile. "Brother, since we're here, a little swim wouldn't be too much to ask, would it?" "Huh, swimming?" Following her pointed finger, Liam saw the luxurious pool sparkling in the resort's courtyard. "It was fine, he supposed, but I didn't bring a swimsuit," Liam said honestly. The next second, a staff member stepped forward, holding out 2 swimsuits. "Ms. Shaw, Mr. Lin, your swimwear has been prepared." A villa, a pool. There was no way Brandon was going to let a prime opportunity for content like this slip by. Sienna's eyes glittered. Without giving Liam a chance to object, she grabbed the pink swimsuit and said sweetly over her shoulder, "Well then, brother, I'll go get changed." With that, she followed a staff member to the changing rooms. "It's just swimming. He used to go to the pool all the time when he was working out." Come to think of it, it had been a while since he'd been in the water. Liam picked up the men's trunks and headed for his own changing room. A few minutes later, he emerged, just as Sienna was opening her door. The pink one-piece swimsuit hugged her figure, revealing curves that the teddy bear had hidden. Her skin was snow white, her eyes wide with a look of pure innocence, and her long, platinum blonde hair cascaded down to her waist. She was the very picture of girlish charm, a face that belonged in a Botticelli painting paired with a body that would make a sinner repent. The first thing that hit you were the 2 prominent, perfect assets. Liam felt a surge of heat rush through him, but thankfully, a glance at her innocent face brought his thoughts back to a more respectable track. He didn't have that kind of predilection. The moment she was out, Sienna eagerly rushed to Liam's side, grabbing his arm and pulling him toward the pool. Without the barrier of clothing, her skin felt incredibly soft against his, sending a jolt through his system. Noticing the cameraman already setting up his equipment, Liam took a deep breath, calmed himself, and followed Sienna to the edge of the pool. On camera, their 2 perfectly sculpted bodies were on full display. The audience went insane. "This intense. I knew the show was going to be good. Are their bodies for real? They're a perfect match. I'm shipping this so hard. Who even cares about the other couples? Sorry, not sorry, Sienna, but I'm about to lose my mind." Crash! Another deafening sound echoed from Cassandra Thorne's office. Outside the door, Evelyn flinched. In just a few short minutes, her boss had already smashed 4 cups. Without a doubt, she was watching Liam again. Evelyn had to admit it. Her boss had well and truly fallen in love. Evelyn silently clasped her hands together in prayer. She could only hope that her boss wouldn't become a complete, love-addled fool. That kind of obsession, combined with her boss's already psychotic tendencies, was a truly terrifying prospect. Inside the room, Cassandra was seething. She snatched her phone and fired off another voice memo to Paige. "Have you not notified her yet? It seems you have a death wish." Less than a minute later, Paige replied frantically, "Ms. Thorne, I'm on my way there now. My ETA is 10 minutes. A phone call? This show was blowing up. There was no guarantee Brandon would even answer if she called." Paige knew from the tone of the voice memos that Cassandra was past the point of anger. If she didn't go there in person, the consequences would be unimaginable. Seeing Paige's message, Cassandra's fury only intensified. Make her wait 10 minutes. A lot can happen in 10 minutes. She watched the screen as Liam and Sienna, laughing and talking, got into the water together. The last of her control snapped. "Evelyn," she roared. The door behind her flew open and Evelyn stumbled in, her heart pounding with fear. "Ma'am, your orders." "Contact Palmer. Get the yacht ready immediately. I'm going to that island." A tremor went through Evelyn. "Yes, ma'am," she responded without hesitation. "Wow, brother, you're amazing. You can even do the butterfly stroke." As Liam glided past her, his form creating beautiful lines in the water, Sienna's eyes went wide. All her flirty little schemes were forgotten, replaced by pure, unadulterated admiration. The butterfly was the most difficult stroke, demanding incredible coordination, strength, and endurance. And Liam had just executed it almost perfectly. Forgetting they were even filming, Sienna splashed her way over to him in a clumsy doggy paddle, her eyes shining with excitement. "Brother, you have to teach me. I want to learn that." Liam frowned. "This stroke is pretty difficult. I'd suggest you start with a backstroke." "Oh." Sienna's face fell, but she nodded obediently. She relaxed her body, letting the water support her, and floated on her back. Grabbing his arm, she said, "Brother, is this right? Can you check for me?" Her movements were quite fluid. She'd clearly had lessons before, but was just a little rusty. Liam nodded, placing a hand on her shoulder to help adjust her posture. "Her, too." Assets floated on the surface of the water, creating ripples underneath. The production team knew exactly what the audience wanted to see. The camera zoomed in so close it was practically on Sienna's face. Hiss, I'm not gonna lie, they're really big. I finally understand why she's always holding that bear. Factory guy is so lucky, getting a hands-on swimming lesson from Sienna. I'm so jealous I could die. This factory guy has some real skills, though. He could do the butterfly stroke. His background probably isn't that simple. In the pool, Liam's focus was entirely on teaching Sienna how to swim. Aside from the necessary contact to adjust her form, he made no other deliberate moves. He gave her concise, helpful feedback and demonstrated the techniques for her. His professionalism instantly won praise from the online audience. But after a few minutes of practicing her backstroke, Sienna slowly came to her senses. She became aware of the hands that had touched her shoulders and ankles to guide her. A tingling sensation spread through her. Just as a new, mischievous idea began to form in her mind, she met Liam's clear, focused gaze. Right, just like that. Once you master the technique, it's easy. Sienna bit her lip. Although she rarely compared herself to others, she knew in her heart that her looks and figure were top tier. Yet Liam was completely unfazed. Even in this situation, he remained steadfastly professional. In that moment, she felt like the man before her was glowing, wrapped in an aura of irresistible charm that shimmered right in front of her eyes. Ms. Shaw, yes, just like that. You're doing great. Liam's voice, full of praise, reached her again. Along with the sound of the churning water, Sienna felt her head grow hot and fuzzy. It was as if something deep inside her had just broken through the soil of her heart. Like this? Sienna asked, her voice a little hoarse. Her eyes were filled with a raw desire for his approval. Watching her glide through the water like a fish, Liam nodded, a small smile playing on his lips as he praised her again. Yes, I only told you once and you got it. Ms. Shaw, you're a natural. The moment his words reached her ears, Sienna felt every pore in her body tingle with delight. It was a feeling unlike any she had ever experienced. She was used to being acknowledged, of course, but being praised by someone more skilled than her, especially someone so cold and distant, created a novel contrast that sent a wave of relaxation through her entire body. Her breathing grew heavier. It wasn't from the exertion of swimming, but from the thrill of this new stimulation. She couldn't explain it, but she liked it. She wanted more. Noticing Sienna floating motionless in the water, Liam, who was starting to get hungry, couldn't help but speak up. Ms. Shaw. He was about to suggest they'd played enough and should go get something to eat, but before he could finish, she cut him off. Brother, can you not call me Ms. Shaw? She blinked, paddling with her hands to propel herself in front of him. His view was immediately dominated by her impressive chest, but when he saw her pleading eyes, Liam sighed. He subtly adjusted his swim trunks under the water and asked, Then what should I call you? Call me Riley. Sienna responded instantly, her big eyes sparkling with hope. Liam swallowed. He really didn't want to turn down such a cute girl, and besides, he was getting paid for this, wasn't he? He gave a natural nod. All right, is Riley you? Before he could finish, Sienna suddenly moved closer, pressing a finger to his lips. Her own lips trembled slightly. Brother, can you just call me Riley? Her voice was laced with a desperate, pitiful plea. Liam's body tensed. He swallowed hard again and nodded. Fine, then, brother. She looked at him pathetically, clasping her small hands together in front of her face, her expression one of pure longing. Was she waiting for him to say her name? Liam realized, and was suddenly convinced the girl was seriously unhinged. He pursed his lips, frowning as he hesitantly began, Riley. Huh. A soft exhale escaped her. The girl in front of him looked as if she'd been struck by lightning, her entire body relaxing into a state of blissful satisfaction. Ugh. Liam's eye twitched. Seriously? All he did was say her name. Why was she having such an extreme reaction? Ever since he met Cassandra Thorne, it seemed like he was surrounded by nothing but lunatics. He shuddered, then pushed himself up onto the edge of the pool and climbed out. I'm going to get something to eat. I'm starving, he announced, heading toward the dining area. Watching Liam climb out, the splash of water hitting her face, Sienna snapped back to reality. She quickly followed him up the ladder. They entered the dining hall together, and a staff member immediately brought out a spread of prepared dishes. Liam didn't say much, just picked up his chopsticks and started eating. Not much had changed from before. Sienna was still staring at him intently, but Liam felt her gaze was different now. There was a new, inexplicable hint of admiration in it. Whatever, don't overthink it. Food first. Liam quickly polished off 2 bowls of rice and sampled every dish on the table before leaning back, patting his full stomach with a satisfied look. There wasn't much interaction during the meal. Liam's focused eating earned him the title of devouring demon from online viewers, while Sienna's every elegant move drew gasps of admiration. After eating, they played in the pool for a while longer, and soon it was evening. The man known as Factory Guy had become a viral sensation in a single day. His intimate interactions with Sienna had even been turned into a series of memes and reaction GIFs circulating online. Everyone was already eagerly anticipating the next day. That night, after a full day of filming, Liam went to the room assigned to him by the staff, ready for a good night's rest. However, Sienna followed him, clutching her large teddy bear. "Ms. Shaw, filming is over for the day. I need a rest," Liam said, holding the door, looking helplessly at Sienna standing in the hallway. "Brother, didn't you promise to call me Riley?" Hearing him, Sienna's eyes immediately filled with tears. Liam's scalp tingled. During filming, they were inseparable, which he could understand. But she had even waited outside the door for him when he went to the bathroom. Now that it was time to rest, she was still following him around like a lost puppy. Was he not allowed any personal time at all? But faced with Sienna's soft, pleading face, Liam sighed again. "All right, Riley, I need a rest. You should go get some rest too. Tomorrow." "Okay," she chirped before he could finish, and then, in one swift move, darted into his room. Right in front of him, she plopped down on his large bed. The soft mattress bounced a few times. She patted the sheets beside her gleefully. "Come on, brother. Let's rest together." "Liam, does she really think I won't do anything to her?" He took a deep breath and strode over, a hint of anger in his steps. Just as he was about to lecture her, he heard a piercing honk from downstairs. Why does that sound so familiar? Liam froze. Driven by a voyeuristic curiosity, he went to the window. The next second, when he saw the person getting out of the car, he was completely stunned. Surrounded by a dozen bodyguards, the slender figure was one he knew all too well. "Cassandra Thorne?" he exclaimed. Before he could even process it, Sienna rushed up behind him, her face pressed anxiously against the glass. Down below, the woman in sunglasses tilted her head up slightly, the black umbrella held over her moving with her. In a single glance, her gaze locked onto their floor. In that instant, Liam felt a shiver run through his entire body. "She's not here for me, is she?" The thought popped into his head, but he quickly dismissed it. After all, he and Cassandra had made things very clear. His nerves settled, and he was about to turn and kick Sienna out when he saw the look of sheer terror on her face. She scanned the room frantically, her eyes landing on the closet. More panicked than he was, she scrambled over, pulled open the closet door, and dove inside. Her voice trembled with fear. "Brother, please, please, whatever you do, don't tell her I'm here." "Huh?" Liam stared, completely dumbfounded. "Hiding in the closet? Seriously? Cassandra shows up, and she's the one who's terrified? Are they related or something? And what does that have to do with me?" Too lazy to think about it, Liam strode over, yanked open the closet door, and said bluntly, "Why don't you just go back to your own room? What's the point of hiding in mine?" Sienna cowered in the corner of the closet, pulling a bathrobe over her face. She tugged at the door with a small hand, her voice shaking. "Brother, close it quick. There's no time." She tried to slide the door shut, but it wouldn't budge against his grip. Panicking, she grabbed his pant leg. "Or maybe you should hide in here too. I can squeeze over." Is she insane? It wasn't even certain Cassandra was here for him, and besides, he hadn't done anything wrong. Why should he hide? Liam was utterly speechless. He bent down, about to haul her out of the closet. Just as his hand was about to touch the back of her neck, he heard a rush of footsteps in the hallway, punctuated by the sharp click-clack of high heels on the floor. The sound was getting closer, heading straight for his room. Liam's eyes darkened. He stared at Sienna for a few seconds, then finally grabbed the closet door and slammed it shut. At the exact same moment, a violent kick sent his room door flying open. The door, which he had left ajar, smashed against the wall with a thunderous bang. Liam flinched. He heard a man's voice. "Ma'am, mister, Lynn is in this room." So, she was here for him. Liam's brow furrowed, his eyes flashing with annoyance. He turned to face the door. In the doorway, bodyguards fanned out on either side. In the center stood Cassandra Thorne, dressed in a simple black coat, her face obscured by sunglasses and a mask. Though he couldn't see her expression, the palpable aura of menace radiating from her was aimed directly at him. Liam said nothing. He casually sat on the edge of the bed, watching her calmly. He wanted to see what she was going to pull this time. Silence fell over the room. Cassandra lifted a hand, a finger wrapped in a black leather glove, gesturing backward. The bodyguard beside her immediately bowed and retreated, pulling the door closed behind him. With another soft thud, the room was empty except for the two of them. From behind her sunglasses, Cassandra's eyes narrowed. She slowly, deliberately stepped inside, her heels sinking into the carpet. The wave of pressure that rolled off her made Liam instinctively glance toward the closet. The next second, his chin was seized, and her voice, like a demon's whisper, sounded in his ear. "It's only been a few days. You seem to be enjoying yourself." It was a compliment, but her tone was laced with a barely concealed, teeth-grinding fury. Liam could feel the storm that was about to break. "But that has nothing to do with you, does it, Miss Thorne?" He raised his hand and clamped it around her slender, pale wrist where it emerged from the glove. He could feel the rough texture of the leather on his chin and the pressure of her fingers tightening. It didn't hurt. "Huh." A cold laugh escaped from behind her mask. She suddenly squeezed harder, forcing his head up. "Still so quick with that tongue of yours." She smiled, a smile that sent a chill down Liam's spine. Under normal circumstances, this would be one thing. But right now, there was a third person in this scene, a person Cassandra didn't know about. A person who was at this very moment watching them from the crack in the closet door. Liam's breathing hitched. He tightened his grip on her arm, forcing it down. "Ms. Thorne, I thought we made ourselves perfectly clear last time. You let me go. I let you go. We're even. We owe each other nothing." He fought to keep his voice steady, to control the frantic beating of his heart. His words were a clear reminder. "Don't go back on your word." Cassandra raised an eyebrow, rubbing the red mark on her wrist where he had gripped it. "Is that so?" she purred. "Of course." Liam sat up straight, crossing his arms. "Surely Ms. Thorne isn't going to break her promise." In response, Cassandra simply reached up and removed her sunglasses. Her unobstructed gaze bored into him. She had to admit, her eye for talent was impeccable. With a touch of makeup artist's work, Liam was even more handsome, especially those deep eyes, now glinting with a mix of anger and scrutiny as he tried to read her. She was rarely on the receiving end of such a look. It felt like he was her equal, which only made her want to crush him under her heel even more. An insatiable possessiveness surged in Cassandra's eyes. She licked her lips greedily, then suddenly lifted her leg, the pointed toe of her high heel landing on the bed right next to him. Liam never saw it coming. Before he could react, she had him by the collar. A wave of rose-scented perfume washed over him, followed by her sharp voice. "You have a lot of nerve, fooling around with other women." Liam's eyes widened. He was about to demand what business it was of hers. But in the next second, Cassandra yanked his collar with all her strength, pulling him down onto the bed. Her knee pressed into his side. She pinned his wrists together above his head with one hand. The rough friction of the leather glove was uncomfortable, but that wasn't the most pressing issue. The most pressing issue was the person crouching in the closet. Is she insane trying this stuff now? He knew arguing with her was pointless, but could he really just let this happen without an explanation? Perhaps the only way to snap her out of it was to tell her they weren't alone. It's not like he owed Sienna any favors. "Ms. Thorne, I suggest you calm down. This room isn't." He started to speak, intending to break free. But before the words could fully form, Cassandra lunged down. A wave of softness enveloped him. Liam's words were trapped in his throat. He never imagined she would be this direct, that she would just. The feeling of her hand beginning to explore made his breath catch. No, he absolutely could not let her get away with this. Not with a third person watching. Liam's jaw tightened. He summoned his strength, and with almost no effort, he broke her grip. In one fluid motion, he reversed their positions, pinning her beneath him, his hands clamping down on hers. He was about to speak, but was stopped cold by the look in her eyes. Dazed, hungry, and wanting more. Stared at by such a burning gaze, Liam's words caught in his throat. Cassandra arched an eyebrow, her eyes sweeping over him with brazen, arrogant amusement. Her gloved fingers brushed against her mask, the friction creating a subtle warmth over her lips. "What? You want to take the lead?" Her free hand slowly drifted to the curve of her waist. Against the white sheets, even in her black leather coat, her lithe, seductive figure was on full display. A corner of her lip curled up. Her eyes held a flicker of anticipation, but her voice remained icy, laced with a playful taunt. "Then come on, show me what you've got, and let me see how wild you've become after all this time." Faced with such a soul-stirring sight, Liam's body tensed. This was the first time she had ever shown such a coquettish side to him. It was spring, and the AC was on, but beads of cold sweat formed on his brow. Only he knew the real reason. It was the sweat of pure, strained self-control. She was taunting him, challenging him with that same infuriatingly superior gaze. On a normal day, he wouldn't be able to stand that look of contempt. But now, with a third person present, regardless of their relationship, he had to be cautious. He gritted his teeth, his voice tight with restraint when he spoke again. Ms. Thorne, you are currently on a television show set. I have no idea if there are hidden cameras in this room. Are you sure you want to proceed? He didn't reveal that Sienna was in the closet. His words were a hint, but a very direct one. Someone else is here. Liam knew Cassandra didn't want their relationship to be public. He remembered her panic at the convenience store when he'd threatened to open the door. And she had arrived here wearing sunglasses and a mask, hadn't she? He was certain he had her cornered. And then she purred, cameras just make it more exciting. Damn it, she really is a lunatic. Didn't she care if a video of them leaked? Didn't she care about the Thorne family's reputation? Liam's brow tightened into a knot. He never imagined Cassandra would say something so self-destructive. Fine. If she wasn't afraid, why should he be? He pushed himself up, his lips curling into a smirk as he loomed over her, gripping her right shoulder. You said it. Cassandra didn't resist. She just lay there, letting him do as he pleased, her gaze fixed on him from below. Her cold, noble eyes held a cool scrutiny and a flicker of anticipation he could barely catch. She could feel the heat of his grip on her shoulder. His stubborn attempt to seize control was a more potent form of possession than any of her own previous efforts. Looking up at that face, Cassandra felt her heart suddenly accelerate. She wanted this man's loyalty, this very feeling of wanting to resist but being forced to accept a Schrodinger's cat of submission, where no matter what, the end result of his suppressed will was a violent, coerced loyalty. Damn it, she's not even flinching. Locked at her gaze, Liam ground his back teeth. He could see her eyes deepening, that look of someone who owned the world. He didn't know what came over him, but when he saw that expression, he was flooded with an overwhelming urge to pin her down, to make her beg for mercy. He wanted to see those proud, disdainful eyes fill with pleading tears. He couldn't stop himself. He leaned down, aiming for her masked mouth, and pressed his lips against it. Then he bared his teeth. Hiss! Cassandra's eyes flew open. He actually dared. A sharp pain on her lips shot through her body. Her eyes darkened, but she didn't push him away. Instead, she responded in kind. They clashed as if they were mortal enemies, driven by some deep-seated grudge. He held her with a force that felt like he was trying to brand himself into her very bones, cutting off her oxygen. The kiss was long, and he showed no sign of stopping. In the throes of suffocation, Cassandra felt an uncontrollable wave of passion. As her brain was starved of oxygen, her body surrendered. Her heart was pounding like a runaway deer, each beat a leap against her ribs. The ache on her lips shifted and changed, stirring up that equation called love deep inside, igniting the embers of a function called love along the cold, proud axis of her being. Hiss! In the quiet room, an unintentional, sharp intake of breath sounded out. Lost in the moment, Cassandra's eyes snapped open. Her gaze darted, sharp and lethal, toward the sound. Someone's in the closet. She suddenly remembered Liam's warning. They weren't alone in the room, which meant that everything they had just done, everything they were doing now, was being watched. Her wolf-like aggression froze instantly. Sensing the subtle shift in her, Liam slowly opened his eyes. He propped himself up slightly and leaned in to whisper by her ear. Ms. Thorne, let's continue. His hot breath tickled her ear, his voice dripping with mockery. Cassandra's hands clenched into fists, the leather of her gloves creaking. She raised a hand and tapped his lips with a gloved finger, her voice turning cold again. I don't have special tastes like that. Oh, so now she's aware? Liam smirked, his voice light. What a coincidence. Neither do I. With that, he got up and sat on the edge of the bed, unconsciously tugging at his belt as he moved. All right, Ms. Thorne, whatever you want, we can discuss it another time. I'm going to bed. His voice was triumphant. Cassandra slowly sat up. Her eyes scanned the closet, then settled on Liam. That smug look on his face was infuriating. Did he really think he had her figured out? Fine, Cassandra said with a cold laugh. She unhurriedly straightened her gloves, her heels sinking into the plush carpet as she rose. She walked around to stand in front of him and casually lifted a hand, her fingers landing on his chin. Tilting his face up, the corner of her lips, hidden beneath the mask, curled into a smirk. Actually, she drawled, I find the environment here quite nice. As she spoke, she took out her phone and dialed Evelyn. Environment is nice? Don't tell me she's planning on staying here. Liam's eyes widened. Before he could object, he heard Cassandra's commanding voice. Have my files sent here for the week. Yes, the room next to his. and clear out this entire floor. As she spoke, her gaze landed back on Liam, a thick, playful amusement in her eyes. I don't like being watched. At this point, there was nothing Liam could say. While the resort had been booked by the show, he knew that against the power of the Thorne family, no one would dare say no. It was a public hotel, after all. Liam remained silent, watching Cassandra leave. The heels of her shoes left small, square indentations in the plush carpet, which quickly faded. As she passed the closet, her steps faltered for a fraction of a second. She glanced at it, then pushed the door open and left. When the door clicked shut, Liam finally let out a long sigh. As his mind replayed the last few minutes, he was unsettled by his own reaction. That sudden, intense desire to conquer her. No, I'm not a lunatic. He had no interest in someone so extreme, especially not after how she had tormented him. If you let yourself be turned into a psycho like that, you're pathetic. Liam laughed at himself derisively. He got up, strode over to the closet, and yanked the sliding door open with a loud whoosh. Sienna tumbled out sideways, nearly face-planting on his toes. Though he didn't know her relationship with Cassandra, Liam had a natural aversion to getting involved in other people's business. He looked down at the back of her head and said coldly, Ms. Shaw, you're safe now. The unspoken meaning was, you can get lost now. However, Sienna lunged forward, grabbing his pant leg. Still on her knees, she looked up, her eyes wide with frantic excitement. Why'd you stop, brother? You guys should keep going. Keep going my ass. Was watching the drama not enough for her? Hiding in a closet to watch the show, leaving him to face that demon alone, and she actually enjoyed it? Liam coldly pulled his leg away and took 2 steps back, sitting on the edge of the bed. He maintained his composure. Ms. Shaw, you can leave now. No. Sienna shuffled forward on her knees, her small hands gripping the edge of the bed. She looked up at him, her eyes sparkling. It was the critical moment, brother. How about you back down now? She was clearly ecstatic, waving her hands as she spoke. It was the first time I've ever seen my sister get flustered. Brother, you're incredible. You truly are the idol I chose. Huh? Wait a second. Liam's scalp began to crawl. Hold on. Did you just say, your sister? Yeah, my? Sienna started to reply excitedly, but in the middle of the word, her brain caught up. She quickly corrected herself. No, I mean, my goodness. Yes, that's it, my goodness. Seeing the awkward grin plastered on her face, Liam's eye twitched. Please, do you think I'm an idiot? Brother, you're amazing. I've decided. From this day forward, you are my idol. I'm going to go record this momentous occasion. Without another word, Sienna scrambled to her feet and bounced out of the room. The room was quiet again, but Liam's mind was in turmoil. He knew there was something off about Sienna, but he never imagined she was Cassandra Thorne's sister. The Thornes really knew how to keep a secret. Their second daughter was a superstar in the entertainment industry. This was unexpected. It seemed he didn't just need to stay away from Cassandra now. This Sienna was probably just as dangerous. Liam sighed, kicked off his shoes, and lay back on the bed, leaning against the headboard and closing his eyes. The Thorne family. What other shocks are they hiding? Ms. Thorne has requested your presence in her room. The moment Riley returned to her room, she was met by Paige, who was waiting for her with a worried expression. Seeing Paige's concern, Riley was even more excited. Paige, you have no idea what I just saw. My sister, that she-devil, actually got flustered. And by a guy. Ha ha ha. In stark contrast to Riley's glee, Paige sighed. Ms. Thorne.She wants me in her room, right? Great, I'm on my way. Watching the ecstatic Riley dash out the door, the worry on Paige's face only deepened. She had delivered Ms. Thorne's warning, but Riley clearly hadn't taken it to heart. And if she wasn't mistaken, Ms. Thorne had just come from that same room. Now Riley had been caught eavesdropping. It was over. It was truly, utterly over. Riley burst through the door to Cassandra's room, a wide grin on her face. The moment her right foot crossed the threshold, she was seized by Palmer and several other bodyguards. At the far end of the room, Cassandra stood with her back to her, slowly sipping from a teacup. Riley panicked. Palmer, you got a lot of nerve, grabbing me like this. Be careful, or I'll have you all fired. It was obvious that in Cassandra's presence, her threats were useless. Ms. Thorne has given the order. Your private jet has been prepared. You depart for Indonesia in 30 minutes. Exclamation point. Riley's panic turned to terror. Her feet kicked wildly in the air. Sister, my dear sister, please don't. I have something important to tell you, she screamed. Let me go. She struggled, but to the highly trained bodyguards, it was like holding a kitten. In front of the floor-to-ceiling window, Cassandra raised her free hand and gave a slight wave without turning around. Palmer nodded, glanced at his men, and they started carrying Riley toward the door. Riley was desperate. She bit down hard on Palmer's arm. Ow! Hiss! Palmer yelped in pain, his grip loosening for a second. The next moment, Riley scrambled free and ran, half crawling, to the desk. Hearing the commotion, Cassandra's anger flared. Just as she was about to dock Palmer's entire monthly bonus, Riley's panicked voice rang out. Sister, listen to me. You have to win Brother Liam over. I will only accept him as my brother-in-law. Her clear voice echoed through the room, instantly short-circuiting the brains of Palmer and the other guards. Huh, make Liam her brother-in-law? Wait, that position is for Miss Thorne's husband. Wait, what? Cassandra slowly turned around, set down her cup, and raised her hand, motioning for Palmer and the others to leave. Still reeling from the shock, the guards understood her gesture immediately. Not daring to think another second, they scrambled out of the room. As the door closed, Cassandra's cold gaze swept over Riley. Right now, Riley was gripping the edge of the desk, her chin resting on the surface. She was staring at her sister like a curious kitten, her eyes shining with a fervent, fanatical adoration. Swiveling her chair around, Cassandra sat down coldly, crossing one leg over the other, her arms folded as she glanced at her sister. Riley looked up, her face beaming. Sis, I'm telling you, with your looks and Brother Liam's, your kids will be gorgeous. And he's so talented. You absolutely cannot miss out on a man this good. Hearing this, Cassandra's eyes darkened. She uncrossed her legs, leaned over the desk, and patted Riley's cheek. Still dreaming, she said, her voice frigid. The light pats only made Riley's eyes shine brighter. She grabbed Cassandra's hand and giggled. Sis, don't you like Brother Liam? The question was a test, but Cassandra wasn't in the mood to dissect it. Her mind was stuck on Riley's use of the word like. Like? She likes him? How is that possible? He's just a little canary she fancies. Seeing Cassandra's silence, Riley's eyes lit up. Her sister didn't have to say a word. She knew what was going on. It seemed her sister liked him, but didn't even realize it herself. Or maybe she just wasn't willing to admit it. Riley's eyes darted around. Others might not know, but she knew her sister best. She was perfect in every way, but she was impossibly stubborn. If Riley hadn't been hiding in the closet, if she hadn't witnessed that heart-pounding scene, she never would have believed her sister could fall for someone. Liam says one word, and her sister leaves. Sometimes her sister couldn't even be bothered to listen to their parents. But now, she was being this indulgent with a man. If that wasn't like what was? The smile on Riley's face deepened. She probed gently. Sis, I can tell. Brother Liam likes you. The word struck Cassandra like a bolt of lightning. He likes her. She blinked. Impossible. The thing he wanted most was to escape from her, wasn't it? Could it be that all this time his resistance was just an act, playing hard to get? The moment the thought entered her mind, Cassandra couldn't help but ask, You're saying all his acts of defiance were fake? Exactly. Riley nodded excitedly. Seeing the shock on her sister's face, her smile grew wider. Brother Liam is totally into you. He was just doing all that to get your attention. She continued, adding a little embellishment. Sis, if you don't believe me, why don't you test him? The suggestion landed squarely in Cassandra's heart. She really did want to know what Liam's deal was. If he was just acting, then he was no different from all the other men, and her fascination was merely a product of their physical compatibility. But if he really was acting, that was brilliant. He had dared to try and manipulate her, to lure her into his scheme. He would be punished. A vicious glint flashed in Cassandra's eyes. She hoped he wasn't playing games. If he dared to play with her feelings, she would truly show him what she was capable of. How do I test him? She asked coldly, her index finger tapping a rhythm on the desk. She's interested. Riley's eyes lit up. She totally likes him. Sis, you really are all talk. Riley admitted that she had initially been curious about Liam, but after getting a real sense of who he was, she was more interested in seeing his two-faced act. Right now, her mind was a highlight reel of Liam being pinned down by her sister, then gritting his teeth and pushing back. The contrast was exhilarating. The two people she admired most, her beloved sister and her new idol, engaged in the ultimate power struggle. What could be more entertaining than watching them push each other to their limits? More importantly, if Liam really became her brother-in-law, he would be the only person who could control her sister. Getting her sister to do anything was impossible, but handling a man was easy. As long as she had Liam on her side, could her sister still threaten to ship her off to Indonesia? At the thought, Riley's heart hammered against her ribs, her breathing grew shallow. Overwhelmed with excitement, she leaned in close. Sis, you can start with his interests and hobbies. Cassandra was confused. Hobbies? Yes. Riley nodded like a pecking chicken. For example, find out what he likes and give it to him. Then you can see if he accepts it or not. Seeing Cassandra fall silent, Riley pressed on. If he accepts it, doesn't that prove he likes you, and that he was just acting before? Cassandra found herself agreeing with Riley's logic. It was indeed the quickest way to test Liam's true feelings. But, seeing her sister's furrowed brow, Riley's excited face took on a questioning look. Wait, sis. Don't tell me. You don't know what brother Liam likes. She didn't. Cassandra's silence was the only answer. The only thing she knew he wanted was freedom, and that was the one thing she could never give him. Seeing her sister's silence, Riley felt the smile on her own face begin to falter. Seriously, sis, are you even trying? It's been this long, and you haven't even figured out his hobbies? Then again, her sister had never been in a relationship. How would she know these things? Riley waved a hand dismissively and pulled out her phone. Forget it, sis. I'll help you. I'll look some stuff up online. We can pick something out for him together. Cassandra said nothing, just watched with cold eyes as Riley started searching on her phone. A moment later, Riley's eyes widened, and she let out a cry. Whoa! She quickly shoved the phone in front of Cassandra, her eyes filled with scorn. Sis, look at this. Someone's trying to clout chase. Cassandra narrowed her eyes, her gaze falling on the phone screen. A trending hashtag was exploding. Hashtag Factory Guy's girlfriend shows off gift. An involuntary pang went through her heart. She reached out and tapped the hashtag. The post was from a user named Factory Guy's Girl. The attached photo showed a glass jar filled with tiny, hand-folded paper stars. Next to it was a bookmark with the names Liam and Jessica elegantly written on it. In an instant, a boundless rage ignited in Cassandra's heart. She knew Jessica Fong was Liam's ex-girlfriend. She had even met her once. But seeing this tangible proof of their sweet, simple past laid out before her, she was filled with an uncontrollable anger. Get people on it. Take down that post. And get the Fong family out of New York. Now, she snarled, her voice shaking with fury. But across from her, Riley spoke up quickly. Sis, I know you're angry, but don't be rash. Cassandra glared at her, the sound of her grinding teeth audible. Riley blinked and leaned in closer. I think this is a good thing, sis. You can see what kind of things he gave her. It's the perfect way to cater to his tastes, don't you think? Cassandra Thorne's eyes narrowed slightly. She had to admit, her sister's emotional intelligence was miles ahead of her own. The harebrained schemes that popped out of that little head of hers were, she had to concede, often quite effective. But a handmade gift? Utterly tacky. Was she supposed to personally fold 520 little paper stars for him? The thought alone was nauseating. She wouldn't be caught dead doing something so pathetically cliché. Cassandra's contemplative gaze fell on Riley's eager face. She crossed her arms, leaned back against her chair, and raised an eyebrow. That's not a bad idea. Right. Riley lit up, thrilled to receive a rare compliment from her sister. He obviously put a lot of thought into his gift for you. We can use that same angle. But in the next second, Cassandra's words made the smile freeze on her face. You do it. When it's done, send it to him. Huh. Riley was dumbfounded. Wait, this is a gift for your crush, and you want me to make it? She hadn't realized her sister was quite this dense when it came to romance. Riley forced an awkward laugh. Cassie, it's a handmade gift. It only has value if the giver makes it themselves. She couldn't help but state the obvious. Cassandra, however, just let out a cold sneer. What's the point of something that wastes so much time and energy? Riley was speechless. Sister, you have not one single romantic bone in your body. She desperately wanted to say it out loud, but one look at Cassandra's sharp, imperious eyes, and the words died in her throat. Cassandra's gaze returned to her phone screen, her eyes growing distant. As Riley stood in silence, she spoke again, her tone flat. Fine. Go tell Evelyn Reed to procure 520 diamonds of roughly the same size. Have them arranged and sent to him. Riley's mouth twitched. Now that sounded like her sister. And besides, a gift was a gift, right? No one ever said they had to be identical. What's more, this was the most thought Cassandra had ever put into a present. On it. I'll go right now. Riley agreed instantly. As she hurried out, she peeked back with a mischievous grin. Sister, you're not going to ship me off to Indonesia again, are you? A small, knowing smile touched Cassandra's lips. Her voice was cool, laced with a playful threat. That depends on your performance. It wasn't a no, but Riley knew what it meant. Her sister was letting her off the hook. She puffed out her chest, full of renewed confidence. You got it. You can count on me 100%. Stepping out of Cassandra's room, Riley saw the guards posted outside. A triumphant smile spread across her face. She clapped Palmer on the shoulder. Hey, Palmer, she said brightly. My sister said the trip to Indonesia is off. Palmer blinked. So it was true. Only the younger Miss Thorne could calm the storm when the elder one was angry. He nodded quickly. Understood, Miss Riley. I'll notify the crew to cancel the private jet. Riley gave a self-satisfied nod and, on her way back to her own room, eagerly dialed Evelyn Reed's number. At Belvedere Diamonds, the manager of private auctions was in a frenzy, directing his staff. The sales associates packing the order couldn't help but whisper among themselves. The Thorns are buying again. Didn't they just clear out a huge batch a few months ago? Did they use them all up already? Who knows? I'd thank my lucky stars to own just one diamond that big in my entire life. You only need one for a wedding, right? Diamonds are just accessories for the ultra-rich. I once saw someone with a manicure made of real diamonds. For real? A real diamond manicure? Weren't they afraid of losing them? Losing what? They don't even notice chump change like that. If one falls off, they just get a new one. Why else do you think they come in here buying them by the hundreds, like they're stocking a warehouse? As they gossiped, the order was packed. Evelyn Reed arrived right on time. When she saw the diamonds individually packaged in velvet boxes, as usual, she stopped them. Take them all out of the boxes. Put them in a glass jar. The manager hurried over. Miss Reed, diamonds are brittle, and a glass jar offers no protection. Storing them together like this could cause scratches and chips. It's fine. Just do as I say. Evelyn instructed coolly, though 1,000 wild horses were stampeding through her mind. It was one thing for Miss Thorne to be on this island, but to suddenly have her prepare this many diamonds in a jar. Evelyn's 5G speed brain had, of course, already seen the trending topic online. This was obviously a direct response to the gift Liam had been given. She was starting to think she needed to hire a team of exorcists to figure out what kind of demon had possessed her boss. Following Evelyn's orders, the manager had his team repackage the order. Clutching the gift, along with a portfolio of documents, Evelyn boarded a private cruiser that same night, heading for the island. The next morning, after the first night, the other contestants had made their choices via secret notes and were now paired up on the island. Milo, however, had been sent to the nearest medical clinic and had yet to return, which conveniently avoided any major drama on night one. An hour before the show went live, Hector, the fitness fanatic, had already dragged Gia Quinn out for a morning run. They jogged along the beach, Hector running backwards with perfect form, waving her on. Come on, Gia, you got this. Last 100 yards. After this, we can get a real workout in. Gia was completely out of breath, her sweat-soaked hair plastered to her face, her carefully constructed image in ruins. She glared at Hector. She had only made some polite small talk about fitness, and the next thing she knew, he was excitedly dragging her out for a run, knocking on her door at 6 a.m. sharp. If she'd known this would happen, she would have picked Julian. It was all Sienna and Misty's fault for picking their partners so early. Meanwhile, near the hotel entrance, Misty Rain was equally miserable. Who comes on a reality show to do anything but relax and vacation? Yet at 6:30 in the morning, Julian had woken her up to read. He was sitting right across from her, making it impossible for her to even sneak in a nap. The morning is the optimal time for reading, Julian said, smiling. Miss Rain, you enjoy reading, don't you? Misty's lips twitched as she nodded, her face a mask of exasperation. Oh yes, I absolutely love it. Julian nodded back, pleased. Books are the ladder of human progress. As the old saying goes, read 10,000 books, and you will write as if guided by a spirit. You must persist to see the benefits, Miss Rain. Misty said nothing. At that moment, Liam and Riley Thorne knew nothing of this, both still sound asleep in their respective rooms. Next door, Cassandra was already awake. Holding a cup of coffee, she stood before the floor-to-ceiling window, calmly watching the sea. In the distance, a sleek, luxurious yacht was approaching the shore, its value obvious even from afar. As it docked, Hector and Gia, being the closest, stopped in their tracks. I thought the production company booked the entire area, Hector asked, surprised. Are we getting a surprise guest? He couldn't help but pray that if there was a new arrival, it would be a woman. Beside him, Gia looked equally surprised. Hearing Hector's words, her brow furrowed. If the surprise guest was a man, that would be fine. It would give them new options tomorrow. But if it was a woman, it just meant more competition. Already sweaty and exhausted, the thought made her angry. What is wrong with the production team? She huffed. They bring someone new in without even telling us? It's so disrespectful. Hector didn't say anything, his eyes fixed on the yacht. On board, Evelyn Reed felt the vessel dock and stepped out. Her destination was clear, the luxury villa resort hotel. The moment Hector saw her, his eyes lit up. Compared to this woman, Misty Rain and Gia Quinn were instantly obliterated. The sheer aura of wealth and power she exuded was on a different level from any of the women here. Only Sienna Shaw could possibly compete. But Sienna was a tough nut to crack. Seeing the woman already walking toward the villa, Hector grew anxious. He had seen her first. He had to make an impression. With that thought, he abandoned Gia and sprinted toward Evelyn. "Miss, you must be the surprise guest. Welcome, welcome." Hector flashed a sycophantic smile as he tried to greet her. Evelyn, however, didn't even glance at him, quickening her pace instead. Hector wasn't discouraged. He trotted along right behind her. "Miss, I see you have a great physique. With some professional training, it could be absolutely perfect. As it happens, I'm a trainer and I own a gym. My name is Hector. We should get to know each other. After the show airs, I could give you some one-on-one coaching." He buzzed around her like a fly, chattering nonstop. Evelyn didn't turn around, walking straight into the hotel. She was internally rolling her eyes 100 times over. Where do these weirdos come from? I have the worst luck. I should have made Haley deliver this. Inside the hotel lobby, Misty and Julian witnessed the scene from their reading spot. Their expressions were unreadable, but they didn't move. Evelyn walked directly to the elevators. As a door opened, she stepped inside. Hector tried to follow, but he was stopped by 2 bodyguards at the elevator door. "Sir, this elevator is currently restricted. Please use another one." Hector watched in frustration as the elevator indicator stopped on the 7th floor. "What do you mean, restricted? Didn't the show book the 7th floor too? What the hell is this?" His angry shouts had no effect. The 2 bodyguards simply held up their hands, blocking his path without another word. "I'm going to find Director Zhang right now. This is completely unreasonable." As a scene began to form at the elevators, Misty and Julian walked over. "Hector, my man, what's going on?" Julian asked immediately. Hector was fuming. "A new guest just showed up and went to the 7th floor. I was just trying to welcome her, and these guys won't let me get on the elevator." That woman just now was a new contestant. Misty suddenly interjected. "Yeah, I have no idea what the production team is thinking, not even announcing a new guest." Gia said, finally catching up, panting, her pale face flushed with anger. Misty glanced from Gia to Hector and instantly understood what had happened. A sense of crisis washed over her. A staff member, who had been running to catch up, finally arrived, out of breath. "Everyone, I am so sorry about that," he explained. "That woman was not one of our contestants. A VIP guest of the hotel has just arrived. The entire 7th floor is off-limits to outsiders. Please rest assured, our show will not be affected." The group stared, stunned. Misty was the first to speak. "But don't Liam and Sienna live on the 7th floor? Are they?" The staff member deliberately ignored her question. "All right, everyone, please take a short break and prepare. We'll begin filming in half an hour." With that, he scurried away, leaving the contestants staring at each other. Is that Sienna's mysterious backer? Gia was the first to voice the thought. Misty shook her head. "I doubt it. We're in the middle of filming a show. She couldn't be that blatant." Unable to figure out the person's identity, and with the staff's official explanation, Julian suggested they all return to their rooms to rest. No one objected, but Misty and Gia walked off together. "Misty," Gia began, lowering her voice. "Do you think it could be that Liam guy?" Before she could finish, Misty understood. The show had just booked out the entire resort. What were the odds a random VIP would show up now? Having clawed their way to their current status, they knew a thing or two about the upper echelons. Powerful people were the most averse to cameras unless it was absolutely necessary. "I bet he's hiding his real identity," Misty said with conviction. "Otherwise, why would the show actually cast a factory guy? That makes sense." Gia nodded, then looked at Misty with a sly smile. "Aren't you afraid I'll go after Liam first now that you've said that out loud?" "Pfft, what's there to be afraid of?" Misty laughed. "You and I aren't the real enemies here. Have you forgotten about Sienna Shaw?" At the mention of Sienna, both of their faces soured. It was one thing to be born with a silver spoon, but to pull these kinds of stunts on the show, forcing them onto the defensive and making them choose men they had zero interest in. "True," Gia nodded, frowning. "But the main problem is that Sienna already chose Liam. How are we supposed to make a move?" "We find an opportunity," Misty said thoughtfully. "It's the first time for everyone on the show. I don't think Liam and Sienna actually know each other. We can test the waters, try to talk to him." "Okay, but Sienna has a huge following. She's not easy to go up against. I think we should team up." "Yeah, we'll see how it plays out in the end. No matter which one of us succeeds, it's better than letting Sienna control the entire narrative." They plotted, but even as they spoke of a partnership, A deeper curiosity about Liam was growing in both of their minds. To have the production team itself make way for you, what kind of power was that? While neither of them was short on cash, who would ever complain about having more? What they wanted now was real power. They had the looks and the ambition to climb the ladder. All they needed was someone to open the door. At 8:00 a.m. sharp, Liam pulled open his door. Outside, the production crew was already in position. He walked downstairs, the camera following him, and saw the other two couples already seated in the dining area. He headed for a corner table by himself. At that moment, Sienna Shaw, dressed in a frilly, doll-like dress and holding a gift box, gracefully made her way towards him, in full view of everyone and their cameras. "Big brother, this is for you." Riley, in her Sienna persona, placed the gift box on the table and sat down across from Liam. Liam, who had just put a piece of salmon on his plate, froze. "What is this?" Riley propped her chin on her hands, her eyes sparkling as she stared at him. "Open it and see. I guarantee you'll love it." "A gift? She's giving him a gift? On the second day of the show?" Instantly, the other contestants turned their heads. Misty and Gia were visibly annoyed. Sienna was setting the pace again. At this rate, they would constantly be on the back foot. Besides, shouldn't the man be the one to give the gifts? Now that she'd done this, did it mean they had to prepare gifts too? "Miss Shaw is so considerate. I almost forgot about this part," Julian remarked ambiguously, his eyes glued to the gift box. Hector nodded in agreement. Indeed, Miss Shaw is not only beautiful, but also incredibly thoughtful. Hearing the two men, Misty and Gia's expressions grew even darker. Weren't they just taking a veiled shot at them? The production team, of course, wouldn't let such a great scene go to waste. A cameraman moved in, the lens practically shoved in Liam's face. Following yesterday's viral explosion, the live stream had just gone live this morning and already had over 500,000 viewers, including, of course, Cassandra Thorne. "Ma'am, the computer is set up, and we've replaced the chair with a softer one for you." Evelyn Reed's team had worked frantically to give Cassandra's suite a simple makeover before the show started. Cassandra gave a slight nod, her bare feet sinking into the plush carpet as she walked to the desk and sat down. Evelyn quickly turned on the computer, pulling up the live stream focused on Liam. "Ma'am, these are today's documents for your approval," she said respectfully. "I've organized them. I'll see myself out now." She was met with silence. Taking the hint, Evelyn bowed her head and left. As the door clicked shut, Cassandra's gaze fell on the computer screen. She raised a hand, tapping her index finger against her lips, her expression thoughtful. "Now let's see how you react." Her eyes deepened, a flicker of anticipation in them. The camera was now fixed on Liam. This scene of a woman giving a gift, completely flipping the script, sent the live stream chat into a frenzy. "She's giving him a gift? Holy crap, they must have had a good night. They're already at the gift-giving stage. Did the factory guy really win over Miss Shaw? This has to be scripted, right? No way. I've been a fan of Sienna for years. She's never had a single scandal. Her team never works with male stars. How could it be scripted? Open it. Open it. Let's see what's inside." As the comments scrolled by, Liam's eyes fell on the gift box. The wrapping alone looked expensive. He glanced at Sienna's playful expression and had a feeling this was trouble. This person was Cassandra's sister, whether by blood or not. He didn't know, but Sienna Shaw was clearly just a stage name. And now she was giving him something so valuable. This stank of bad intentions. With that thought, Liam had no intention of accepting. He didn't even bother looking at it closely before pushing the box away. "Thank you, but I don't want to accept this gift." Since he was on camera, he maintained a baseline of politeness. But that single action made the live stream audience explode. "He rejected it. Dude, you didn't even open it and you rejected it? Factory guy, you're getting cocky." Across from him, Sienna's smile stiffened. But she wasn't discouraged. "Big brother, don't you even want to see what's inside?" "What's inside?" Knowing Cassandra's twisted sense of humor, and now with her sister involved, he wouldn't be surprised if a snake jumped out. Liam's mouth twitched. He went back to shoveling food into his mouth, mumbling, "Thanks, but I'm not interested." Not even God himself was going to stop him from finishing this meal today. Seeing Liam focus solely on his food, Sienna could barely maintain her smile. She had thought she could just bring the gift, sweet-talk him into accepting it, and then go back and report her success to her sister. She hadn't expected him to not even bother opening the box. This mission was suddenly feeling impossible. One of them was stubborn as a mule, the other had a heart of stone. Was she supposed to play matchmaker for these two until next year? But as daunting as that was, the fear of being shipped off to Indonesia was worse. Sienna took a deep breath to compose herself. Then, in full view of everyone, she stood up, walked over, and sat down right next to the still-eating Liam. She smiled sweetly, leaned in close, and wrapped her hands around his arm. Her voice was a syrupy, coquettish whisper next to his ear. Come on, big brother, just take a little peek. It's a gift I prepared especially for you. The chat room detonated. She's flipping the script again. Factory guy, you just wanted to see Sienna beg, didn't you? I see right through you. Damn, this factory guy is just handsome. That's all he is? I refuse to accept this. On the 7th floor, the camera zoomed in on Sienna clutching Liam's arm. Cassandra, who had been calm just a moment ago, now had flames of fury raging in her eyes. You little brat, Riley. You never learn, do you? Cassandra angrily grabbed her phone, about to message Evelyn, when she saw Liam shake Riley's hand off. Miss Shaw, this is inappropriate. Sienna was speechless. Liam's expression at that moment was like something out of a classic novel. A stoic monk, immune to worldly temptations, devoted only to his faith. Except, of course, for the crispy duck leg he was currently clutching in his hand. He took a large bite. The skin was perfectly crispy, the meat tender and juicy. The flavor exploded in his mouth. Is there anything in life more enjoyable than good food? Liam closed his eyes in bliss, completely oblivious to Sienna's darkening expression. So that duck leg is more important than me? Is that it? The chat was filled with a chorus of 666 and comments like factory guy, the food demolisher, and a role model for our generation. For some reason, seeing Sienna get rejected and ignored, a sliver of satisfaction crept into Cassandra's eyes, and a flutter of delight rose in her chest. The sight of him turning down another woman, it truly made her heart sing. As she watched Liam polish off the entire half-plate of crispy duck, Sienna was really starting to lose her patience. The moment he paused to wipe his hands, she grabbed the gift box and tore it open. Inside, nestled in a clear glass jar, hundreds of dazzling, brilliant diamonds flashed under the camera lights. OMG, are those real diamonds? Holy crap, that many diamonds? That's the gift. Sienna gave it. They have to be real. Is the entertainment industry really this profitable? My God, I've never even seen a diamond that big in my life. If someone gave me just one of those, I'd live in their mansion and drive their fancy cars. I'd do anything. You do all that for just one? You're selling yourself short. In the live stream, the chat was on fire. At the same time, the hashtag Sienna gives factory guy diamonds started trending. On set, Julian and Hector were staring, their eyes practically popping out of their heads. While both had some assets, their entire net worth was nothing compared to the value of that gift. Take Hector. As a gym owner and personal trainer, he made a decent 6-figure salary. If he didn't eat or drink for a year, he could maybe afford a quarter of one of those diamonds. But here were hundreds of them on the table. Hector's eyes were practically glowing green with envy. That damn Liam. How'd he get so lucky? It was one thing for Sienna to choose him, but to be given such an extravagant gift. Misty and Gia's faces were just as grim. They had some money, sure, but not even a tenth of what that gift was worth. For Sienna to make such a lavish move, where did that leave them? Back at the table, Sienna smiled sweetly and pushed a box toward Liam. Big brother, I picked this gift especially for you. The unspoken message was clear. You had better accept it. Liam, who had just finished his meal, was nearly blinded by the sparkle. Staring at the packaging, he felt a strange sense of déjà vu. This style wasn't like those star jars that were popular online a while back. Except, instead of being filled with paper stars, this jar was packed with genuine, high-grade diamonds. He didn't believe for a second that Sienna, whom he had just met, would give him such an expensive gift. So, this had to be Cassandra's handiwork. Glancing at Sienna's beaming face, Liam felt a wave of disgust. That crazy woman had this kind of tacky taste? Was she trying to win him over with gifts like this, hoping he'd willingly become her little canary in a cage? When faced with something of unknown origin and ill intent, Liam knew only one thing to do. Be true to himself. Thank you for the thought, but I don't need it. Instantly, Sienna's smile froze. The live stream chat absolutely exploded. Holy shit, you don't want it? I'll take it. Sienna, can you give it to me? Just tell me we're going to throw it out. I'll be there with a garbage bag. Factory guy, you have officially lost your mind. Do you have any idea that jar is worth more than your life? Buying a life is a bit much. Let me have it. I was born with 9 lives. On set, Julian and the others were dumbfounded. He just rejected it. What the hell is this guy thinking? He's turning down hundreds of pigeon egg-sized diamonds. The cameraman, holding his heavy equipment and staring at the mountain of diamonds worth, well, over 8 figures, felt tears welling up in his eyes. Life was so unfair. He worked his ass off his whole life for peanuts, while this guy just sat there and had a fortune pushed at him, only to turn it down. The cameraman was tempted to just drop his camera and walk off the set. Misty clearly couldn't stand it anymore. She shot a look at Gia, and they both stood up and walked over to Liam and Sienna. "Miss Shaw, the show just started. This is a bit much, don't you think?" Misty said, keeping her voice low so the nearby mics wouldn't pick it up. Gia nodded. "Sienna, the producers have a lot of activities planned, and there will be a recoupling later. If you do this, it's none of your damn business." Sienna snapped before they could finish. Being rejected in front of so many people was one thing, but the real problem was that her sister was definitely watching the live stream. If Liam rejected the gift, how was she supposed to spin this? Already furious, she now had a perfect outlet for her anger. "I'll do whatever I want. What does it have to do with you?" she shot back at them. "And let me make one thing clear. Liam is the one I want. I don't care what the production team has planned for a recoupling. This young lady has her sights set on Liam." Misty and Gia were stunned into silence, their faces pale as they stood awkwardly to the side. While their whispers hadn't been recorded, Sienna's declaration had boomed across the live stream. The audience immediately started debating again. "It's none of your business what gifts a couple gives each other. Those two women are so annoying. When are they getting voted off? Can we get a special episode with just Sienna and Liam? I don't want to watch the other two couples. Seriously, director, I suggest you don't play dumb. Get rid of the other two couples. No one wants to see them. Don't want to see them +1. In the control room, Brandon Jung watched the trend in the live comments and felt a sense of unease. It was true. From day one, the buzz around Sienna and Liam had been massive. Any clip featuring the two of them easily broke 100 million views, while the other two couples barely registered. But the contracts were already signed. Brandon was in a difficult position. "Director, maybe we should split it into 2 shows, his assistant suggested. "We can send a few more camera crews to the island and create 2 separate live streams." Brandon nodded. "That could work. Otherwise, the overall broadcast data is going to be abysmal. It's unwatchable." And so, Brandon made an executive decision. Using the main channel to drive traffic, he opened a smaller live stream dedicated to the other 2 couples. The original camera crew would now focus primarily on Liam and Sienna, capturing their every interaction to fuel the hype. The change was implemented immediately. Julian and the others were asked to move to another area of the hotel. Though they were unhappy, everything was done according to their contracts, so they couldn't say much. Having finished his meal, Liam didn't linger in the dining room. He stood up and went for a walk on the beach. He was well aware that it was a fluke he was even on this show. After leaving the Hamiltons, he was broke. He didn't have much money left. For the next few days, he could at least get free meals from the show, but after this, who knew what was next? Since he was at the beach, he might as well enjoy the scenery. The sense of peace a beautiful landscape gave him was undeniable. He found a spot on the sand, sat down, and contemplated his life. Meanwhile, upstairs, Cassandra watched this scene unfold, and, for some reason, felt a strange sense of relief. She would never say it out loud, but she had been afraid that Liam would accept the gift, which would have indirectly proven that he was just playing hard to get. But he hadn't accepted. He really wasn't in it for the money. So what did he truly want? Cassandra stared at the screen as the camera followed Riley, who had gone to sit beside Liam on the sand. When the shot shifted back to Liam's face, Cassandra's eyes narrowed. She had seen too many people who compromised, either willingly or unwillingly, for the sake of status, for their ideals, for simple survival. Everyone who surrounded her had a goal. Maria, their housekeeper, worked tirelessly for her retirement. Riley, driven by her love for dance and the stage, had trained relentlessly since she was a child. And then there was herself. To secure the Thorne family's position, she hadn't stopped for a single day in the 3 years since taking over, making every move with calculated precision, forging the family's now unshakable status. But on the screen, Liam's face was utterly serene. He lay there as if he were from another world, completely devoid of any worldly desire. And yet, having been cast out by the Hamiltons, he should be the one with the most ambition. Could it be that he never once thought about revenge? Revenge? I don't do things that have no meaning. The memory of Liam's words, spoken not so long ago, echoed in her mind. She had thrown the Zenith Corp contract to Isabel Hamilton, but due to the Hamiltons' change in leadership, several partners had pulled out. That, combined with Isabel's incompetence, meant that besides the Zenith deal, Hamilton Industries hadn't secured any new business. The Thornes certainly wouldn't be renewing any contracts. It was safe to say that the Hamiltons' complete destruction was now just a matter of her lifting a finger. All she was doing now was keeping him on life support. So, had Liam known from the beginning that the Hamiltons were doomed to fail? Was that why he said it was meaningless to him? Cassandra's gaze sharpened, her eyes fixed on the man on the screen. I'm not interested in money. Miss Thorne, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving. What happens to P4.She has nothing to do with me. It's just a report. Can it replace 20-plus years of my own experience? All I've ever wanted is freedom. Just like this show will eventually come to an end. The words Liam had spoken in the past played out in her mind like a movie reel. On the screen, Cassandra saw Riley scoot closer, lying down beside Liam. She tilted her head slightly and asked, "Big brother, can I ask why you didn't want the gift? Was the timing wrong, or did Liam simply not like it?" Riley was genuinely curious. While she had never lacked for money, she understood its significance. The diamonds from the Thorne family were worth a fortune. Any other person would have been ecstatic to receive them. Even a small, established family would have been thrilled by such a sum. But Liam didn't want them. He hadn't even given them a second glance before walking away. She didn't understand. Hearing Riley's question, Liam's eyes were half closed. He lay with his hands cushioned behind his head, gazing freely at the sky. He didn't answer her question, instead asking one of his own. "Why did you think I would want it?" "Well, you used to give gifts like that to other people, didn't you?" Riley answered instinctively, not realizing she had just exposed her identity to him again. For Liam, who already knew who she was, it didn't matter. He smiled. That was all in the past. Who wasn't impulsive when they were young? So those gifts were just impulsive? Riley was stunned. In the next moment, Liam's voice sounded again. "No one is immune to getting caught up in the moment. But for every action, there's an equal and opposite cost. I don't believe I possess an equivalent value to exchange for your gift." Or maybe he did, he thought, but the price was freedom, and that was a trade he wasn't willing to make. Of course, he didn't say that part out loud. Meanwhile, the live stream chat exploded again. "Factory guy, I take back what I said about you being cocky. He's so self-aware. Yeah, for real. Who just gives away a gift that expensive? Who knows what Sienna is really trying to do? But is he really okay with being a factory worker his whole life? Stop pretending. He's only saying that because the cameras are on him, trying to sound all profound. Give me a break." Exactly. Let's see if he acts like such a big shot when he's broke. Talk is cheap. The online discussion was a mix of praise and criticism, but none of it mattered to Liam. He was lying on the beach, listening to the waves, feeling the sea breeze, and gazing at the blue sky, enjoying the carefree life he was always meant to have. At peace with the world, a minor deity in his own right. He even crossed his legs contentedly. All he needed was a blade of grass to chew on. Seeing this, Riley was at a loss. She couldn't grasp the meaning of his words. They were too profound for her. She didn't understand. It was just a gift. Accepting it wouldn't have any negative impact on him. Why did he refuse? Didn't he need money? The thought popped in her head, and she asked it aloud. "But brother, what if you have no money?" It was the foundation of life. If Liam were destitute right now, without even enough money to eat, she didn't believe he could still speak with such detachment. In the 7th-floor suite, Cassandra also sat up straighter, her eyes glued to the screen. "Then I'll go earn it," Liam said calmly. "Work a job, coast a little. Isn't that normal? What if you can't earn that much?" Riley pressed, her eyes fixed on him. At that, Liam let out a soft laugh. He met her gaze. "The amount of freedom you have is equal to your ability to earn it. If you can't earn it, then you don't have freedom." His words were captured perfectly by the mics, and the live stream erupted in an unprecedented debate. Why do I feel like he's making sense? Sense my ass. I've got a family of 5, old parents and young kids. I can earn, but what freedom do I have? That's because of your vulnerability. What about me? I have a master's degree, and I'm working as a security guard. Is it because I'm not capable enough? It's because your horizons were broadened. At that moment, the live stream was abruptly cut. On the 7th floor, the computer screen was frozen on Liam's face, the sunlight bathing him in a glow, making him look, if only for a moment, like a truly free man. Cassandra had never met anyone like him. She suddenly felt that sending him diamonds as a gift had been an insult. She was insulting a soul that longed for freedom. In that instant, she realized that some birds are not meant to be caged because their feathers are simply too bright. And yet, despite this, an even more fervent, more desperate desire to trap him surged within her. Meaningless, was it? A faint smile touched Cassandra's lips. Her fingers unconsciously stroked the image of Liam's face on the screen, her eyes burning with a bottomless, bloodthirsty possessiveness. "Very well. Then I will become your meaning. Even if I have to break both of your wings, I will force you to stay by my side. Go tell Liam to come see me." Immediately, Cassandra clutched her phone, sending a voice message to Evelyn Reed. The reply came back almost instantly. "Yes, ma'am." "Sir, Director Zhang is on the line for you." A crew member approached Liam, holding out a phone. Though puzzled, Liam stood up and took the call. The moment he said, "Hello," Brandon Zhang's voice came through the receiver. "Brother, that was a little too bold. It's not a good look." Brandon's tone was relatively gentle. He wasn't blaming Liam for the livestream being cut. But Liam was genuinely confused. "What do you mean?" Brandon sighed, his voice heavy. "That whole speech you just gave about freedom. That's a major taboo. It's best not to bring it up again." It had never occurred to Liam that simply speaking his mind would be considered taboo. "That's a taboo?" he asked with a faint smile. "Hey, brother, you're new to this." Brandon's tone softened, becoming almost pleading. "Just do me a favor on this one." Before Liam could respond, Brandon quickly added, "Oh, right. Brother, there's something I need to tell you in advance." "What is it?" "It's Noelle Hamilton," Brandon said quickly. "The Hamilton family paid $90,000 to get her on the show." $90,000? Liam was slightly taken aback. When he left the Hamiltons, their liquid assets were close to $10 million, but that was nearly 2 months ago. Given Isabel and Jason's management skills, that number should have dropped significantly. He was surprised they could still cough up 90 grand to get Noelle on a show. Liam couldn't help but ask, "And you agreed?" "Yes." Brandon's voice was audibly guilty. He explained, "Isabel Hamilton called me personally. Noelle will be arriving on the island on day 4. I felt it was necessary to tell you, so you could prepare." "Brother, don't blame me for this, I just—" Brandon continued to ramble, but Liam had stopped listening. A thought suddenly struck him. "So, Brandon," he interrupted, "that extra money you said you were adding to my contract midway through, that wasn't from this 90 grand, was it?" Ahem. On the other end of the line, Brandon cleared his throat, sounding deeply embarrassed at being caught. "Look, I did it for the money too. You know how it is, brother. I'm a businessman. When there's a profit to be made, you can't say no. Don't worry, I'll send extra staff up there. If Noelle Hamilton tries to start any trouble, I've got your back," he explained frantically. Liam was silent for a few seconds, then burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha ha." Brandon was stunned. "Has my brother lost his mind?" "Liam, man, what are you laughing at?" Brandon asked, a hint of fear in his voice. "Did he snap?" "No, it's not that," Liam said, clutching his phone, his stomach hurting from laughing so hard. He wiped a tear from the corner of his eye. "Brandon, you're really something else. But you asked for way too little. Next time, give me a heads up. I used to be part of the Hamilton family. I could have helped you drain them dry, man." Brandon, who had been on pins and needles, was first stunned, then realized what Liam was saying and started laughing too. You should have said so earlier. The contract is already signed." Brandon lamented, but before Liam could speak, he suddenly had another thought. "Wait a minute, Liam. Are you serious?" Liam's eyes glinted. He could already guess what Brandon was thinking. He chuckled. "Of course. You don't trust me?" "I do. I might not trust others, but I definitely trust you." "Who was his brother?" "He was the guy who had just turned down a multi-million-dollar gift, right? The man had skills." Brandon was ecstatic. "Okay, here's the plan. Give me a rough number, and I'll find a way to squeeze it out of them. We'll split it, say 70-30. How does that sound?" Liam didn't really care about the split. He understood the rules of the business world, though he was less familiar with the entertainment industry. But it was all the same game, really. "Brandon, haven't you already signed a contract?" "Hey, that was just an e-signature for the appearance fee. There are other expenses, aren't there?" Brandon's voice turned devious. "Hair and makeup, screen time, personnel management. All of that costs money. A special guest crashing the party deserves special treatment, right?" Hearing that, Liam instantly understood. It was a classic shakedown. The only thing keeping the Hamiltons afloat was that Zenith Corp contract. Given Cassandra's obsessive nature, that deal must have gone through, though he didn't know the exact value. That contract was an unexpected variable. He needed to ask Cassandra how much liquid capital the Hamiltons had to work with now. Liam's eyes narrowed. If he wasn't mistaken, Cassandra probably only signed that deal because of him. The Hamiltons' lifeline shouldn't have been extended. If they were going to feed on the blood and bones of the person they had thrown out, then he would make sure they vomited it all back up. "Wait for my signal." Staring at the approaching figure of Evelyn Reed, Liam said one last thing before hanging up. He handed the phone back to the staff member just as Evelyn walked up. "Miss Thorne wants to see you," she said, getting straight to the point. She added, "Right now?" This time, Liam didn't refuse. He pointed a thumb toward the hotel and smiled. "Good. As it happens, I have something to discuss with her too." Evelyn was slightly taken aback. She had expected Liam to put up some resistance, not agree so readily. Thinking back to the comments she'd seen on a live stream, she couldn't help but study him. This man was indeed different. It was no wonder her boss was so completely enthralled. The infatuation was probably just beginning. There were long days ahead. This man, she would have to serve him very carefully. 10 minutes later, Liam arrived at Cassandra's suite. After Evelyn pushed the door open, Liam walked straight in without hesitation. Ma'am, he's here. After reporting to Cassandra, who had her back to the door, Evelyn closed it behind her. The room was quiet again, filled only with the soft hum of a humidifier. Cassandra stood with her back to him, her head tilted up slightly, as if she were admiring the view from the floor-to-ceiling window. Liam walked forward steadily. Hearing the footsteps behind her, Cassandra pushed off with the tip of her foot, swiveling her chair around. Her sharp eyes instantly locked onto Liam, but this time, they held a new, more calculating glint. Sit. She casually waved a hand toward the sofa across from her, her tone uncharacteristically mild. Seeing Cassandra in such a benevolent mood for once, Liam, feeling good himself, couldn't resist a jab. My, how we turned over a new leaf. His words were dripping with sarcasm. Surprisingly, Cassandra didn't get angry. Instead, she offered a very serious explanation. You're too tall. It makes my neck tired to look up at you for too long. Liam's mouth twitched. Fine, I can't argue with that logic. He turned and sat down on the sofa, not far from her desk. Glancing around the meticulously remodeled room, he remarked dryly, Miss Thorne, you really know how to live. His repeated snide remarks seemed to slide right off her. She showed no sign of anger. On the contrary, she seemed to think Liam was dropping hints. Without answering him, she picked up her phone and sent a voice message to Evelyn outside. Go remodel Liam's room to be identical to mine. He said it, so he must want it. Liam stared at Cassandra in bewilderment. Was she out of her mind? But after all this time, his own mindset had broadened considerably. He couldn't be bothered to explain himself. He simply picked up a cup from the table and poured himself some tea. Putting her phone down, Cassandra saw his movement and slowly rose to her feet. As she stood, the hem of her black dress fell to her ankles. The thin straps of her dress clung precariously to her pale shoulders, and the plunging neckline offered a tantalizing view. Her long hair was tied up with a simple ebony hairpin, and a pair of smooth, lustrous white pearl earrings dangled from her earlobes. The whole ensemble was simple yet profoundly elegant. She walked around the desk, appearing in his full field of vision. A flash of genuine admiration crossed Liam's eyes, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. Watching her approach, Liam took a sip of tea and smiled faintly. Miss Thorne, surely you're not going to deny me a cup of tea? Cassandra didn't answer. She sat down on a single armchair to his right, draping her arm over the armrest and crossing one leg over the other, revealing a slim, pale ankle and the perfect curve of her leg. I'm thirsty too, she said, staring straight at him, her words a complete non sequitur. Pouring another cup of tea was a simple matter. Since he had questions for her, Liam wasn't about to refuse. He picked up the teapot and poured a cup for her. As she watched him, her eyes grew hotter. Miss Thorne, your tea. He pushed the cup in front of her, his voice unhurried. The temperature in the room seemed to rise, the atmosphere charged with a sense of him having taken control. Cassandra didn't seem to notice. She stared at the teacup for a long time before finally picking it up. After taking a delicate sip, her eyes narrowed slightly. For some reason, though it was the same brand of tea she always drank, and the water was the same temperature, it tasted sweeter going down. Miss Thorne, why did you summon me so suddenly? Although he was still technically filming, it was a break period. The next shoot wasn't until 6 p.m., so he had plenty of time, but that didn't mean he wanted to sit here indefinitely. Liam decided to get straight to the point. Cassandra leisurely set down her cup, glanced at him, and said, You'll be having lunch with me shortly. Liam blinked. Miss Thorne, lunchtime is at 12. It's only 10:30 now. Did you call me here to sit for an hour and a half? His tone was reasonable, not angry. But throughout history, reasoning with a woman has always been a fool's errand. Cassandra tilted her head, tapping a finger on her cheek as she stared at him. What else? Liam was speechless. A smirk played on Cassandra's lips as she delivered her next, utterly imperious line. You and I still have some accounts to settle. Let's use this time to settle them properly. What accounts? The moment he spoke, Cassandra shot up and walked directly in front of him. In the same old pose, she leaned down, her gaze cold and condescending. Her red lips parted, her voice laced with a suppressed fire that threatened to consume him whole. I told you not to touch other women. But you weren't a good boy, were you? The pad of her finger traced a line along the side of his face, down to his chin, sending an itching sensation through him. If he lowered his gaze just a fraction, he would be met with the stunning sight of her cleavage. But he wouldn't fall for the same trick twice, or a third time. And besides, she was spouting nonsense again. Staring into Cassandra's icy eyes, Liam grabbed her wandering hand. He let out a cold laugh. Why is Miss Thorne so concerned with my affairs? She hadn't expected that. Her hand froze instantly. Concerned? Was she? Her expression flickered with confusion for a moment, and Liam seized the opportunity, forbidding me from having intimate contact with other women, locking me in your house, repeatedly engaging me in these games of chase. Miss Thorne, he said, his voice low, counting off her behaviors one by one. He ended with a question that landed like a 1,000-pound weight on her heart. You haven't fallen for me, have you? It was a more potent provocation than any before. Insolent. How could I possibly like you? She was flustered. Her face flushed to sudden, deep red with the anger of being challenged. She glared at him, her eyes filled with a rare, clumsy panic as she blurted out a lie. You are nothing but a bird I keep in a cage. This is pity, don't misunderstand. If anyone were to fall, it should be you falling for me. Him like her? Don't be ridiculous. If he could fall for her under these circumstances, he'd have to be seriously sick in the head. Liam's mouth twitched, but his eyes remained on Cassandra. It was rare to see her so flustered. Getting a high and mighty ice queen, this worked up. It was actually kind of fun. All right, Miss Thorne, I'll stop joking. Liam knew when to back off. He still had questions for her. Even a corner dog will bite, and pushing Cassandra too far would do him no good. Cassandra instantly realized he had been toying with her. This was the how many times now? Liam could so easily pull at her heartstrings. Could this really be? Liking someone? She didn't understand, and she didn't have time to think about it. Right now, her mind was filled with the rage of being played. Very good. You dare to toy with me. Cassandra's voice was a low growl. She twisted her hand, gripping his wrist tightly. It seems I'll have to punish you properly. This time, Liam had no intention of begging for mercy or firing back. He simply relaxed into the sofa, embracing the chaos. His tone was flat, but with a slight upward tilt at the end. And how do you plan to punish me? Are you going to kidnap me from the show and lock me in your house again? Or maybe put me in an actual cage this time? Caught between resistance and anger, Liam chose to be reckless with his words. He listed off the absurd things Cassandra had done to him, one by one, his expression showing not a trace of fear. His face was a mask of serene acceptance. He was telling this madwoman with his actions that her forced measures could not imprison his free soul. Evidently, his calmness calmed her down as well. Before, she would have unhesitatingly used any means necessary to trap him. But now, after nearly 2 months, she had a new understanding of Liam. Those crude, violent methods would never make him submit. She could imprison his body, but never his heart. And that was no longer what Cassandra wanted. Perhaps it was what she wanted at first, but now, after getting to know him, forced submission was no longer enough. She wanted more. This man, his eyes, his heart, everything about him, had to be filled with her. Her eyes deepened. She released his wrist and sat down beside him. Given that you actively rejected her, she said, I'll let you off this time. That's simple. Liam looked at Cassandra, surprised. This was not her usual style. Before he could even process whether to believe her, her tone shifted. However, Liam's mouth twitched. He knew it. It was never that simple. But Cassandra's next words left him stunned. For the duration of the filming, unless there's something urgent, I want you to come to this room and keep me company. Liam was shocked. At night, too? Of course, Cassandra replied with a cold smirk, taking a sip of tea. Liam's body tensed. Son of a bitch. So that's why you booked the entire 7th floor. He gritted his teeth and looked at Cassandra. I can agree to that, but I have one condition. Cassandra raised an eyebrow, feeling magnanimous. Name it. I want to know the value of the contract Zenith Corp signed with the Hamiltons. She had expected him to demand that she not force herself on him, or something similar. She hadn't expected his condition to be so simple. A greater sense of intrigue sparked at her eyes. What? You want to bankrupt the Hamiltons? Cassandra's lips curled. Their bankruptcy was just a snap of her fingers away. She didn't care about their fate, but she was more interested in what Liam planned to do. She wouldn't mind helping him, as long as he paid with his heart. But unexpectedly, Liam shook his head. Not exactly. Oh, Cassandra was now completely hooked. She stared at him, captivated. By my calculations, the Hamiltons' luck should have run out long ago. The only reason they're still standing is probably because of you. At this point, Liam's gaze shot to Cassandra. Meeting her slightly surprised look, his lips curved into a cold smile. Miss Thorne, if you're so interested in me, you might want to focus your efforts on me, instead of wasting them on pointless gestures. What did he just say? The nerve of him, as if he'd hit a raw nerve. A flicker of panic crossed Cassandra's eyes. Don't be ridiculous. I simply saw that the Hamiltons had potential and offered them a handout. She was still scrambling for an explanation, but to Liam, it sounded pathetic. The Hamiltons had potential? He wasn't trying to brag, but he knew that after he left, their old partners would start pulling out. David Hamilton only cared about bloodlines, but he never understood that blood could be the very thing that sinks you. The partnerships Liam had secured for the family were won through countless meetings and his own rock-solid expertise. If business could be solved with a simple dinner, nothing in the world would be difficult. Who in business was a fool? And as the head of the Thorne family, at the very pinnacle of their world, how could Cassandra be that naive? He smiled faintly. No need to explain, Miss Thorne. I made myself clear. You're a smart woman. I'm sure you understand what I mean. His voice echoed softly, but it seemed to carry a magical quality that calmed Cassandra's panic. She could no longer tell who was the host and who was the guest in this meeting. A small contract. $750,000, she replied, trying her best to mask her unease. The atmosphere had clearly been taken over by Liam. Oh, Liam nodded, murmuring to himself. So that means their current usable assets are in the $300,000 range. Watching him suddenly lost in thought, Cassandra's curiosity spiked. What are you planning to do? She asked. Liam snapped out of his calculations and smiled. Nothing much. Just make them spit it back out. Cassandra snorted. If you want it, I can just transfer you the $750,000. Why go to all this trouble? Liam raised an eyebrow. This woman truly was an out-of-touch heiress. $750,000 was probably just the cost of a few outfits to her. He gave her a deep look, then picked up his cup and took a sip. That money was never supposed to be theirs. So, he is seeking revenge, after all? Cassandra watched him, a thoughtful expression on her face. How rare to hear such words from you. Huh? Liam chuckled, teasing. That doesn't mean you can't still transfer me the money, Miss Thorne. Cassandra froze, staring at him in astonishment. How'd she never notice that this man was such a rogue? She was so taken aback, she almost laughed. She simply raised her hand and pointed to the desk. Go get my phone. She's really going to do it? Liam raised an eyebrow. That was a transfer born from their conversation, just a joke on his part. It didn't count as him asking for it, right? Liam stood up and brought her the phone. Taking it, Cassandra didn't transfer the money right away. She opened her messenger app and looked up. Add me. Liam froze. Add her as a contact. Hiss. It suddenly hit him that after all this time, all the drama, they weren't even contacts on each other's phones. But, well, the woman was about to send him $750,000. Adding her as a contact seemed like a small price to pay. He took out his phone, pulled up his QR code, and held it out to her. With a soft ding, they were connected. Staring at Liam's pitch-black profile picture, Cassandra frowned. That picture is too ugly. Change it. Liam looked down at his plain black icon. What was wrong with it? Wasn't a man allowed to have a dark face? He then glanced at Cassandra's gaudy, bright red rose icon and couldn't help himself. Eris, your profile picture isn't exactly top tier either. Normally, when someone criticized her, Cassandra would get angry. It was a direct insult to her taste. But hearing it from Liam, she frowned. For some reason, she was starting to think the rose looked a little ugly, too. Liam's eyes were on his own phone, watching as a transfer notification for $750,000 popped up. He couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. His bank account finally had some life in it. But before he could celebrate, Cassandra's next words made his jaw drop. Go find a nice matching set and send it to me. Liam, did those words really just come out of the mouth of Cassandra Thorne? Now he was genuinely unsure. Had she actually fallen for him? Was it possible to get addicted to tormenting someone? Liam looked at Cassandra with a sort of weary disdain. Before he could react, she opened a browser on her phone. Forget it. I'll find one. As she spoke, her fingers flew across the screen, scrolling through endless couples' profile pictures. Liam watched her very serious expression with a complicated feeling. For a moment, he felt like his initial impression of her had been clouded by some kind of filter. Her intense focus on finding a picture now. It was no different from some teenage girl deep in the throes of a new crush. Liam's mind was a mess of emotions. But she had just sent him $750,000. For him, right now, that was a huge amount of money. What could he say? When you take someone's money, you do their bidding. This one, Cassandra's voice broke the silence. A second later, an image appeared on Liam's phone. When he saw it, his mouth nearly twisted into a permanent grimace. Seriously, Eris? Is this all I am to you? A dog. On his screen was a picture of a smiling cartoon Samoyed, a leash around its neck. The leash extended to the edge of the frame. He could already imagine what the other half of the picture was. He glanced at Cassandra's phone and saw her profile picture had changed to a cartoon girl, firmly gripping the other end of the leash. Liam. Faced with his contempt, Cassandra was immensely pleased. She couldn't stop her lips from curving into a smile. I hope that from now on, every time you open your phone, you'll remember that I am your master. Liam took several deep breaths. Forget it, forget it. He took the money. He gritted his teeth and changed his profile picture. There. Happy now, heiress. Cassandra nodded, deeply satisfied. She glanced at the time, 11:30. Go tell Evelyn to bring lunch. You'll eat with me. After a busy morning, Liam was genuinely hungry. Since he had agreed to come over after he was done, he didn't argue. He got up and opened the door. The moment it opened, he was greeted by the sound of Evelyn's laughter. She was sitting by the door, completely engrossed in a TikTok video. When she saw him, she quickly pocketed her phone, her expression instantly reverting to calm professionalism. Liam witnessed this rapid transformation in silence. Fine. So everyone loves to slack off. This girl has a bright future. Evelyn stood up, her face impassive. Did Miss Thorne have an order? Liam didn't expose her. He simply said, she wants lunch served. Very good. I'll notify them at once. Evelyn nodded and turned toward the dining area. Liam didn't close the door, leaving it ajar as he went back inside. He saw Cassandra was still focused on her phone, so he said nothing and sat back down on the armchair near her. A short while later, Evelyn returned with a chef and several maids. Sitting on the sofa, Liam watched in astonishment as they moved tables, arranged dishes, and bustled about in a flurry of activity. It was like preparing for battle just to have a meal. Truly the Thorne way. Cassandra, however, seemed to find this all perfectly normal. She just stared at her phone in silence. After a full 20 minutes of chaotic activity, the feast was finally ready. Liam was starving. Evelyn dismissed the maids, brought a pair of slippers from the doorway, and placed them in front of Cassandra. She bowed slightly. Ma'am, the meal is ready. Please dine. Cassandra responded softly, putting down her phone and stretching elegantly. Evelyn bowed again and left. Cassandra leisurely raised her hand and waved it at Liam. Help me with my shoes. The aroma of food was already filling the air. Liam felt like his vision was blurring from hunger. Eating was the only thing that mattered. Too lazy to argue with her, he got up, took her small, pale foot in his hand, and slipped the shoe on for her. Seeing Liam so obedient for once, Cassandra's mood brightened considerably. She impulsively reached out and patted the head of the man squatting in front of her. His hair was thick and incredibly soft. The feeling spread from her palm straight to her heart. It was deeply satisfying. A smile unconsciously bloomed on Cassandra's face. She loved this feeling of being obeyed. Feeling the touch on his head, Liam, his head still bowed, felt a flicker of rage. What was the difference between this and being a pet? Was she really treating him like a dog? But he had taken the money. Liam ultimately suppressed his anger. Right now, besides being hungry, he was filled with regret. He knew it. He never should have taken the money. He had finished changing her shoes, but Cassandra's hand didn't stop. Liam looked up, his patience wearing thin. How long are you going to keep petting me, Miss Thorne? Cassandra, who had been savoring the moment, blinked, a hint of confusion in her eyes. Am I not allowed? This was a direct challenge to his dignity. Liam knew that getting angry now would only bring him more trouble. He had just managed to get this woman to be slightly less insane. He wasn't about to add fuel to the fire at this critical juncture. Liam took a deep breath, pushing down his anger. He said, half-jokingly, if you want to pet me more, it's going to cost you. Cassandra froze. Is he selling himself to me like a commodity? She would never allow something she had chosen to debase itself like this. To do so would be a slap in her own face. Cassandra shot up, leaning forward and grabbing his chin, her eyes blazing with fury as she stared him down. What did you just say? Liam knew she was angry, but he couldn't figure out why. It made no sense. He was just telling the truth, devaluing himself. What was she so mad about? But even so, he wouldn't back down. Liam knew that if he gave in once, there would be a second time, and a third, and it would never end. He could not let her have her way. Since he couldn't escape this madwoman for now, then if she was going to be crazy, he would be crazy with her. Who was afraid of whom? Miss Thorne, am I wrong? He met her furious gaze without flinching, a calm smile on his face. Think of it as having a pet. When the pet makes you happy, shouldn't you give it a little reward? His words registered in Cassandra's ears, and she suddenly thought, he might have a point. Her eyes flickered, and she smiled. Then I'll reward you. Consider it a prize for your obedience. Liam looked up as Cassandra took out her phone. A moment later, a notification popped up on his own device. A deposit of $15,000. He raised an eyebrow. Serving this heiress. It seemed to be more profitable than working a real job. All right, help me to the table now. Cassandra put her phone down and stood up. Liam's lips curved into a smile. He held his hand out in midair, a mock gesture of service. After you, my lady. Cassandra seemed very pleased. She casually rested her hand on his arm, and he helped her rise and walk to the dining table. After she sat down, Liam, despite his hunger, didn't immediately start eating. He pulled out her chair for her before taking a seat to her right. Cassandra was very satisfied with his respectful attitude. Wasn't this the effect she had been striving for all along? Her mood soared. Looking at the exquisite dishes on the table, she gave a slight nod. "You may begin." "You got it," Liam replied, already starving. He picked up his chopsticks and began a feast. He had no table manners, just wolfing down his food like he hadn't eaten in days. But for a man, there was a certain wildness to it. Cassandra sipped her juice, watching his uninhibited eating with a small, unconscious smile of pleasure. Seeing him eat with such gusto, every bite bringing a look of pure satisfaction to his face, she found herself swallowing. She was getting a little hungry, too. Liam, however, was completely oblivious. He couldn't help it. Cassandra's private chef was a genius. After a few bites of crab meat, his face was a mask of blissful contentment. He had eaten plenty of high-end cuisine before, but nothing had ever felt as satisfying as the food at the Thorne residence. As expected of the Thornes, these chefs were at least 5-star quality. The food didn't just look good, the taste was divine. Who wouldn't be captivated? After about 15 minutes, Liam was about 70 or 80% full. When he finally looked up, he saw that Cassandra's plate was still completely clean. She was leaning back in her chair, a slight smile on her face as she watched him. That smile sent a chill down his spine. He froze for a moment, his mind racing. Cassandra isn't eating. Could the food be poisoned? Considering the woman's methods, Liam's brow furrowed. "Aren't you eating?" Cassandra didn't answer him directly. Instead, she asked with a small smile, "Are you full?" "Pretty much," Liam mumbled, pressing his lips together. Seeing the situation, he didn't dare eat anymore. He picked up a napkin and wiped his mouth. The smile in Cassandra's eyes deepened. She crossed her arms in front of her, her voice cool. "Good. Then you can feed me." "Huh?" Liam looked over, stunned. "Wait, feed?" "Feed you. Heiress you." Liam wanted to ask if she didn't have hands, but he bit the words back. He had just managed to get her to listen to him for a bit. It was best not to provoke her. He changed his phrasing. "Are you sure you want me to feed you?" "What? Are you unwilling?" Cassandra's voice turned icy. Though her face was still smiling, a hint of malice crept into her eyes, as if she would explode if he dared to say no. "Willing. Of course I'm willing," Liam quickly agreed. It was just feeding someone. He'd never done it before, but it couldn't be that hard. Compared to constantly running away and being relentlessly pursued by the psycho, it was clearly better to keep her happy. Especially since she was a human ATM. The $750,000 had been an unexpected bonus. He truly hadn't thought she would actually transfer it. If that was the case, he might as well play along for now. He was broke, and to escape, he needed capital. He would trade a little bit of indignity now for a greater freedom later. "First, I'll earn $100 million from her," he thought. "Then I'll take the money and travel the world. The world is a big place. She won't be able to find me. By then, she'll probably be sick of me anyway." Having clarified his strategy, Liam rubbed his hands together. A smile spread across his face as he looked at the dishes. "So, Miss Thorne, what would you like to eat?" "The crab legs," Cassandra said coolly after a moment's thought. "You seem to be enjoying them." Though she had eaten these dishes many times, when you see someone else enjoying something so much, it can certainly reignite your own appetite, especially when it was her pet. Liam didn't hesitate. He picked up a crab leg. High-end dishes were usually prepared meticulously, with fish and shrimp deboned and shelled. It saved him the trouble. He picked up the crab meat with his chopsticks, cradling it with his other hand, and leaned in close to Cassandra's lips. He couldn't resist. He added, in a coddling tone, open wide. He sounded like he was feeding a small child. The gesture sent a jolt of pure bliss through Cassandra. Her entire life had been a high-intensity, tightly wound machine. She had a schedule for when to wake up, when to sleep, what to do, and when to do it. Her life was divided into 1,000 tiny boxes. Eating was merely to satisfy a physical need. This was the first time since she could remember that she had been treated this way. The extreme contrast was comfortable, an unprecedented experience. In front of her pet, she felt like she was finally being herself. She was relaxed, and only in front of Liam. She obediently opened her mouth. As the savory flavor of the crab exploded on her tongue, her eyes filled with a satisfied pleasure. Like someone sharing their favorite food, Liam temporarily set aside his prejudices against Cassandra. He couldn't help but ask with a hint of anticipation, "How is it? It's acceptable." After swallowing, Cassandra gave a slight nod. She didn't have many thoughts on the matter. It was just her usual meal. The only difference was that today, it had an added sweetness. While enjoying the moment, she didn't think about any of her troubles. Temporarily setting aside Cassandra's motives, Liam felt a sense of satisfaction, the kind you get from sharing something you enjoy with someone who gets it. He smiled. Say what you will, but your chef's cooking is truly top-notch. I've eaten a lot of good food, but your family's is the best. It was just an offhand remark, a passing thought. But to Cassandra's ears, the words were exhilarating. Her pet was willing to share with her. Doesn't that mean he trusts her? Thinking back to the wild beast who was snarling at her just a few months ago, now so trustingly sharing his joy with her, she was absolutely thrilled. It wouldn't be long now, she thought. Soon, his eyes would be filled with nothing but her, his heart overflowing with her. He would beg her, frantic, not to leave. The moment she wasn't by his side, he'd be tormented, desperate to possess her like a madman through the night. The slow burn, the extreme contrast. It was intoxicating. Relishing the satisfaction of being understood by one of her own kind, Liam rolled up his sleeves, eager. What else do you want? I'll get it for you. A slow smile spread across Cassandra's lips. Anything is fine. Then let's try a bit of everything. That caviar I had was amazing. Let me pair it with some of your chef's champagne chicken tranche for you. Liam began assembling a small plate, his voice a low, enthusiastic murmur. He was making recommendations, sharing his experience, but to Cassandra his voice began to fade, becoming a distant, blurry echo, like a voiceover. What came into sharp focus was the look in his eyes, the genuine desire to share, and the simple, steady motion of his hands as he selected the food. In that single moment, an infinite well of motivation surged within her. She wanted to eliminate every obstacle in his path, including his fear of her. Once she solidified his belief that he belonged to her, all his stubborn obsessions with freedom and fear would transform into the very chains that bound him to her. The thought was exhilarating. A thrill shot through her, and she subconsciously pressed her thighs together. In that future, she would be the only one in his world. He would constantly seek her out, ache for her presence. And when that day came, she would tell him that she would hold his leash forever, that she would never let her little dog lose his way. The fantasy sent a wave of pure pleasure through her entire body. She snapped back to the present. Liam's hand was right in front of her, a forkful of food poised at her lips. Almost instinctively, Cassandra opened her mouth, her taste buds once again ignited by the exquisite flavor. Meeting Liam's expectant gaze, she gave a slight nod, offering a direct, unadorned compliment. Delicious, right? I thought they'd be great together. Liam grinned, already moving to create the next pairing. Cassandra delicately licked her lips, her gaze on Liam growing hotter. There was nothing more gratifying than breaking a man who valued freedom above all else. It was the most exquisite form of entertainment, a completely new kind of thrill. Watching Liam sneak a bite for himself while composing another plate, the smile in Cassandra's eyes deepened. If you like it, she said coolly, I can have them make it for you every day. Every day. Liam's hand paused midair. He shot a glance at Cassandra. He had no intention of staying here that long. Love was something he'd already given up on, let alone a relationship with a walking-time bomb like her. Besides, after the inhuman torture she'd put him through, he'd have to be certifiably insane to develop any genuine feelings for her. Still, he'd learned a valuable lesson. For now, play along. After all, he was getting paid. It wasn't exactly a hardship. Liam didn't refuse. Of course. Thank you for your generosity, Miss Thorne. Yes, that sounded much better. Good performance, Cassandra praised softly, then gestured with her chin toward the coffee table. Liam's eyes lit up. Ooh, another award? He practically scrambled over, picked up his phone, and presented it to her with both hands. But this time, he saw no transfer notification. Instead, she tapped open her contacts, selected Evelyn Reed's profile, and sent a voice message. When you get back, sort through that drawer of keys and bring them to me. Liam froze. Keys. A second later, Cassandra's voice washed over him again. From now on, whenever you want to go out, just ask me for the keys to whichever car you'd like to drive. TSK. Liam was visibly disappointed. He would have much preferred cash. Money was only real when it was in his own hands. Still, Cassandra was as good as her word. In just a short time, he'd already netted $765,000, plus unlimited access to the Thorne family's fleet of luxury cars. At this rate, his little goal of $100 million wasn't so far off. You should be happy. Liam put on a show of ecstatic gratitude. You're too generous, Miss Thorne. Thank you. I would do anything for you. It was an act, of course, laid on a little thick, but Cassandra seemed to eat it up, visibly pleased by his fawning. Then again, her eyes narrowed, and her voice turned into a menacing whisper. You could drive any car you wish. However, All of my cars are equipped with tracking systems. If you're thinking of running, I wouldn't. Liam shook his head vehemently before she could finish, swearing his allegiance. You have nothing to worry about, Miss Thorne. I would never run away in one of your cars. Of course, he thought, I could always use a different car. And cars aren't the only way to travel. Good, Cassandra nodded, satisfied. She gestured back toward the food. Continue, right away. Liam nodded, quickly sitting back down beside her and carefully feeding her one delicate bite after another. Lunch lasted for well over an hour. But Liam didn't mind at all. He was, for the moment, perfectly happy to play his part. After they finished, Liam called for Evelyn Reed. As she and her staff cleaned up, Liam used the excuse of going to the bathroom to slip back to his room. He quickly caught up with Brandon Jung about the Hamilton situation. Over 400 grand? Liam, man, that's a lot, Brandon said, the stress evident in his voice. 150 grand, maybe, but 450? There's no way I can justify that as a production expense. A sly grin spread across Liam's face. Don't worry. If I'm telling you the number, it means I have a way to get it. Brandon's voice immediately brightened. Dude, tell me. Go to Isabel Hamilton. Tell her the show is blowing up and you're planning to bring on 2 more contestants. They'll arrive on the 4th day, at the same time as Noelle. That's it. Brandon was stunned. That's it, Liam said cheerfully. Just do as I say. All right. I'll message her right now. After hanging up, the smile on Liam's face deepened. Others might not know it, but he knew the Hamiltons. They were all ridiculously proud, especially now that they were coasting on his hard work. They were arrogant and out of touch. Arrive on the island at the same time as a couple of nobodies? No, Noelle would never allow it. She would have a complete meltdown. Just as Liam predicted, the moment Isabel got the news, she told Noelle. Hearing that she would have to share her arrival with 2 nobodies, Noelle exploded. Izzy, no way. I've been in this business for years. You can't have me show up with a bunch of randoms. That's humiliating, she shrieked over the phone. Besides, we have a goal here, remember? How am I supposed to work my magic with all those extra people around? Izzy, come on, just talk to the producers. If you have to, just buy out the whole show. Isabel's brow furrowed as she cut her sister off. Buying out the show isn't realistic. You know our situation right now. A lot of our partners have pulled their funding. I don't even know what we're going to do after we deliver the Zenith Corp order next month. Only after taking over did Isabel realize how difficult it was to run a company. One big contract couldn't sustain them forever. She had to constantly work her connections. She'd been to countless industry events lately, but without fail, the moment people heard she was a Hamilton, the conversation would die. The Zenith Corp deal was only a temporary lifeline. She was already starting to panic about where the next contract would come from. Nothing about her family had changed. The key people were all the same, but for some reason, there was an indefinable chill in the air whenever she spoke to her peers. Add to that the constant pressure from her parents and Jason's uselessness. The last month and a half had been an absolute nightmare. She found herself thinking of Liam countless times. When he was around, she never had to worry about any of this. Izzy, what are you so afraid of? Noelle's voice, full of bravado, snapped her out of it. We landed the Zenith Corp contract. You think we're going to have trouble finding other partners? Please, those people are just jealous. Our competitors couldn't get the Zenith deal, so now they're lashing out. Besides, Noelle continued, her logic sounding perfectly reasonable. If we can work with Zenith once, we can do it again. We'll just talk to them about renewing the contract. Easy. Noelle's words made sense. Perhaps the immense pressure of the last few weeks had exhausted her, filling her head with paranoid thoughts. You have a point, Isabel conceded, but buying out the entire show is still not feasible. I've seen it. It's a massive hit right now. The unspoken words hung in the air. We don't have that kind of money. Noelle laughed. It's fine. We don't have to buy the show, just a guest spot. I'll be the only one making a grand entrance. Once I'm famous, the money will be rolling in. It'll be a matter of minutes. That, too, made a twisted kind of sense. The money in entertainment was fast and plentiful. If Noelle became a household name, the Hamilton family status would be elevated to a whole new level. A family of their stature couldn't rely on just one small company, could they? Isabel found herself agreeing. All right, I'll talk to the director, Brandon, right now. Getting her sister's approval, Noelle was ecstatic. Okay, sis, you just watch. I'll make sure Liam gets what's coming to him. If he doesn't apologize to our Jason, I'll make his life a living hell. After hanging up, Isabel immediately dialed Brandon Jang's number. Brandon, having set the trap, had his phone right in front of him, just waiting for Isabel to walk into it. The moment her name popped up on the screen, he answered. Isabel got straight to the point. Brandon feigned a moment of stunned silence. Damn, Liam really did have the Hamiltons figured out. His brother had them wrapped around his little finger. To prevent Brandon from hesitating and letting the opportunity slip away, Isabel laid her cards on the table. $300,000. I'll give you $300,000, and let's consider it the start of a friendship. If you ever need anything from the Hamilton family in the future, we'll do everything in our power to help. Brandon raised an eyebrow. That was even less than Liam had predicted. That wouldn't do. What kind of businessman wasn't greedy? He feigned hesitation. Miss Hamilton, my show is pulling in over $20,000 a day in viewer gifts alone. With more female guests coming on, the ratings will only get higher. Your offer is... Isabel bit her lip. The most the company could spare right now was about $465,000, and that was from the profits of the Zenith contract. Was she really going to spend almost all of it? But you have to risk it to get the biscuit, right? Bigger investments yield bigger returns. It was something Liam himself had done. When the company was just starting out, he had undercut competitors by slashing their own profits, making the Hamilton name famous in just 3 months. The returns they got later far outweighed those initial sacrifices. She had seen him use this exact tactic, and it had worked. If Liam could do it, so could she. Gritting her teeth, Isabel summoned the decisiveness of a leader. $450,000. Hearing the strained voice on the other end, Brandon knew he'd hit their limit. His brother was a goddamn prophet. He'd predicted the amount almost to the dollar. Done, he said, no longer hesitating. He quickly sealed the deal, adding a touch of faux regret. Oh, what a shame. I was looking forward to bringing on those other two. But you're just so decisive, Miss Hamilton. I guess I'll have to tell them the deal is off. A smile spread across Isabel's face. It was the first time anyone had praised her like that since she took over. She was deeply satisfied. Of course, a show the Hamiltons have their eye on can't have any imperfections. I'll send over the contract. You could just sign it electronically, Miss Hamilton. Brandon was barely suppressing his glee. Isabel agreed without a second thought. Fine, send it over. The call ended. Brandon moved fast, drafting and sending the contract in under 10 minutes. Isabel gave it a quick once-over, then signed her name in the bottom right corner. The moment she sent the signed contract back, an unprecedented feeling of exhilaration washed over her. She felt like this day should be marked on a calendar. It was the day she went all in, the day she made a major, decisive move. Thrilled, she sent a message to Jason. Jason, book a table at the Sovereign. I'll take you out to dinner tonight to celebrate you getting out of the hospital. A reply came back almost instantly. Thanks, sis. As requested by Cassandra, Liam went to her suite after his call with Brandon. It was now 2:30 in the afternoon. Cassandra was already at her desk, engrossed in a stack of contracts Evelyn had delivered. The papers were piled so high they formed a small mountain. Even at his peak, Liam had never had to review so much paperwork. Seeing Liam, Cassandra pointed to the chair beside her desk, motioning for him to sit. Liam obediently sat down. His eyes scanned the documents on her desk, noticing contracts for sums as small as a few $1,000s. He couldn't help but ask, "You approve this stuff yourself?" Cassandra slowly raised her gaze, her tone cool and detached. There are no small matters in business. Well, damn. Looking at her now, Liam had to admit there was a reason Cassandra Thorne was the undisputed head of her family. Putting aside the fact that she was a complete psycho, she was at least incredibly diligent in her work. He thought back to his own time as CEO, how he'd had to personally approve every department manager's dinner expenses. He found a strange sense of kinship in her work ethic. And that was precisely why he wanted nothing to do with the Thornes. When he was younger, all he'd ever wanted was to be a CEO, surrounded by beautiful women and luxury cars, admired by everyone. But when he finally achieved it, he discovered it wasn't what he'd imagined. He had to be sharp at all times, the leader for hundreds of employees who depended on him for their livelihood. If he failed, hundreds of lives would be thrown into chaos, their fortunes downgraded by fate. And he had to bear the enormous risk of debt and losses. When he finally found a moment of leisure, he thought he could relax. But having already satisfied his desire for money, he found that the women, the cars, all those shallow, cheap thrills no longer brought him any real joy. He was already at the top of his circle. The only desire left was to climb higher. But no matter how high he climbed, the ending was always the same. The higher the peak, the greater the risk, the narrower the path. So he got tired. He checked out. The Thorne family was surely the same. From the day Cassandra was born, her life had been locked in, surrounded by the same people, the same business. While she had probably never wanted for money, being the heiress of a reclusive, powerful family wasn't easy. To ensure the family's legacy, to keep the Thornes at the top, She had probably never had a chance to live her own life. Looking at Cassandra, engrossed in her work, an unfamiliar wave of pity washed over Liam. He pitied her for the fate that had been decided for her from the very beginning, a fate she could neither refute nor escape. But he quickly dismissed the thought. They were from two completely different worlds. How could he possibly understand her using his own judgment? Maybe this was the exact life she wanted. Pity? He should save the pity for himself, for being targeted by a demon like her. You seem bored. As Liam was lost in thought, Cassandra's icy voice broke the silence. He blinked, his gaze returning to her. She hadn't looked up, her eyes still fixed on the document in her hand, her expression so indifferent it was as if she hadn't spoken at all. Liam was taken aback. Me? Bored? Cassandra didn't answer. She simply lifted her teacup, took a sip, and then nonchalantly pointed to the mountain of files beside her. Help me with these. Huh? Liam was stunned. Seriously, lady? I was just praising your work ethic, and now you're pulling this. Seeing his hesitation, Cassandra glanced up, peering at him over the top of the files. What? You don't know how. The question was entirely rhetorical. At least, it was to Liam. He was sure Cassandra had already done a thorough background check on him. The Thorne family might be a corporate giant, but a contract was a contract. The language was universal. But Cassandra was asking him to approve Thorne family documents. Was she out of her mind? To Cassandra, however, his hesitation looked like fear. As her pet, she was granting him the privilege of understanding her work. It was a gift. It was only natural that he would be intimidated. What if I sweeten the deal? She thought. He'll probably be overwhelmed with gratitude. Don't worry, she added, almost impatiently, her eyes never leaving him, eagerly anticipating his reaction. Those are just small contracts. Evelyn has already vetted them. You just need to double-check. Holy hell. Thorne family contracts. Even small ones. If he read enough of them, he'd get a clear picture of the company's entire operational flow. The one thing he lacked most was knowledge about Cassandra. The more he learned, the more ammunition he'd have for his eventual escape. Know your enemy and know yourself, and you will never be defeated. Since she was offering him the keys to the kingdom, why would he refuse? Liam excitedly rubbed his hands together under the table. Then, I'll get started. Noticing the undisguised joy in his eyes, Cassandra couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. He really was happy. Her own mood instantly lifted. Go ahead. Be thorough. You can count on me. Liam replied with a grin, immediately grabbing a file and starting to flip through it. He was a professional. The moment he picked up a contract, he knew exactly which pages were important. Within moments, he was completely absorbed, a statue whose only movements were the flicker of his eyes and the slight tilt of his head. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the desk. It was the middle of the afternoon, a quiet, leisurely time. The hotel was silent. The only sounds in a room, the soft rustle of turning pages, the faint chirping of birds outside, and the distant roar of waves crashing against the shore. In this time and place, Cassandra, who had always worked alone, suddenly had someone by her side. He sat right next to her, silent and still, yet visible every time she glanced up. The feeling was surprisingly peaceful. In that moment, Cassandra felt as if her soul had been purified. After watching Liam for a few seconds, Cassandra had to admit it. The man was brilliant. It usually took her 3 minutes to review a contract. Liam did it in less than 2. That meant he knew exactly what to look for. This man was just too damn good. She was already finding herself drawn to him. Seeing Liam finish one file and reach for the next, Cassandra turned back to her own work. The tranquil time passed quickly. At one point, Evelyn Reed pushed the door open to deliver afternoon tea and stopped dead in her tracks. The sight of the two of them, sitting side by side, diligently approving documents, made her eyes go wide. The boss was letting Liam review company files. Oh my God, but she had to admit, they actually looked kind of good together, like a real couple. Carefully placing the tea on a nearby table, Evelyn couldn't help but sneak another glance at this historic scene. She had originally thought Liam was just some classless nouveau riche upstart, but seeing him so focused, he looked a bit like her boss. What's wrong with me? Evelyn suddenly thought. Am I starting to think he's actually worthy of her? As the door clicked shut behind her, she swallowed hard. She suddenly felt like she could really ship these two. The work they had planned to take 4 hours was finished in less than 2, thanks to their combined efforts. The efficiency far exceeded Cassandra's expectations, which meant there was now some unexpected free time. Time to do something more interesting. Your show starts at 6, doesn't it? Cassandra asked suddenly, her eyes fixed on Liam as he tidied the files. Liam's hands paused. He answered honestly, around 6, yes. But it's better to be there by 5:30 for makeup and prep. Even 30 minutes was 30 minutes. He didn't have to be here. Cassandra raised an eyebrow, her gaze deepening. She tapped her phone screen on the desk, the rhythmic thump, thump, thump echoing like stones dropping on Liam's heart. A shiver ran down his spine. He asked cautiously, "Is there something you need, Miss Thorne?" She didn't answer right away. A faint smirk played on her lips as she parted them, her tongue darting out to lick a glistening canine tooth. "What do you think?" Her tone was brazen and domineering, sending a tremor through Liam's entire body. He glanced at the time. It was just after 4. That left an hour and a half until 5:30. Surely Cassandra wasn't thinking. He cleared his throat calmly. "Miss Thorne, I don't think we have enough time." He hoped she'd get the hint. After what they had already been through together, she should know full well that a mere 90 minutes was nowhere near enough for him to perform. Especially since today, he was conscious and fully aware. He would restrain himself as much as possible, not rush things just to get it over with. To his surprise, Cassandra let out an amused, "Oh." Her voice rose at the end, laced with a clear, challenging disbelief. If you looked closely, you could even see an unspoken anticipation. Anticipation? Wait a second, was she actually addicted? He really didn't have much experience in that department. The first few times, he had been completely passive. No one is an expert on their first try. But things are different now. After a few rounds, he had a much clearer handle on himself. Naturally, his technique had improved. If he tried him now, she'd know. He was a different man. A single hour wasn't even enough for him to get started. "Well then," she purred, the bloodlust and desire in her eyes intensifying. "I'd really like to try." It was the second day. She hadn't been able to hold back since yesterday. It was like taking that first sip of an ice-cold beer after a long day. Once you start, you have to have another. She'd thrown down the gauntlet. If he refused now, wouldn't she look down on him? Besides, his current mission was to please her. He had no choice. Liam pressed his lips together, asking one last time cautiously, "Are you sure?" If he took the lead, he wouldn't be showing any mercy. Without answering directly, Cassandra kicked her chair back, swinging her legs up onto the desk. Her black slippers dangled, revealing the pale, delicate skin of her ankles. The hem of her black skirt swayed in the air, each movement sending a jolt through Liam's heart. She tilted her head back, her gaze locking onto his, sensual and unwavering. "Carry me," she commanded, her voice slow and deliberate. "All right, you asked for it." Liam's eyes darkened. He stepped forward until he was standing beside her. As he bent down, his voice was a low whisper. "I hope you don't regret this, Miss Thorne." His voice was light, but his touch was searing as his arms made contact with her skin. The words were laced with a potent, predatory aggression. Cassandra's eyelids fluttered open, her anticipation growing. This was what she loved, his untamed, savage wildness. After he gently placed her on the bed, Cassandra turned on her side, propping her head up with a delicate hand, her expression a mix of haughty pride and smoldering desire as she watched him. Liam stood beside the bed, his hand reaching for the top button of his shirt, looking down on her. He didn't forget to ask, "Miss Thorne, there are no cameras in this room, are there?" It was a ridiculous question, but it served to break the tension. Cassandra laughed, the taut strings of her control finally loosening. Her eyes, however, remained locked on him. "There's no one else in this room," she purred. "Only you and me." "Good," Liam replied, a smile playing on his lips. Before his buttons were even undone, his leg was on the bed, pressing down. A wave of heat washed over them. Cassandra hadn't expected him to move so suddenly. Her eyes widened in surprise. But in the next second, his voice, a complete reversal of his earlier tone, was a raw, plundering, frenzied whisper in her ear. "Welcome to my domain, Miss Thorne." "Brandon, it's 5:40. The show is about to start, and Mr. Lynn still isn't down. I can't get up to the 7th floor, and he's not answering his phone. What do we do?" In the hotel lobby, a production assistant named Louis was pacing frantically. Brandon Jung was stunned. Liam was always punctual. He could be a slacker sometimes, but he never missed a commitment. "Don't panic, let me ask," Brandon said, frowning. He hung up and called the hotel front desk. After explaining the situation, the hotel manager's voice was full of apology. "Director Jung, there's nothing I can do. The 7th floor is reserved for VIPs. No one is allowed up without permission. That's what you said the last few times I called. My cast member is staying up there. Who the hell is it that requires this much security?" Brandon was clearly losing his temper. The manager remained apologetic. "I'm sorry, I don't know either. The order came from above. Perhaps you could postpone the show." "Are you kidding me? Everything is scheduled. How can I postpone it? What am I supposed to tell the viewers?" Brandon swore, but it was clear the manager couldn't help. He hung up in frustration. The incident did make him curious, though. If the guest was so important, why hadn't they kicked Liam out? Could it be that the power behind the scenes was connected to Liam? But damn, his brother had really left him in the lurch this time. As the minutes ticked by, Brandon had no choice but to give his assistant an order. Go live as scheduled. Just say Liam isn't feeling well. Say he has a fever. We'll cut to him later at an unscheduled time. Yes, sir. Huh. Liam wiped the sweat from his forehead. The AC was blasting, but he was drenched. He glanced at the time, and his eyes went wide. His movements immediately stopped. It's almost 6, Miss Thorne. Next time for sure, he said, starting to get up. But Cassandra, dazed and limp, barely opened her eyes. Her hand shot out unconsciously, grabbing his arm, pulling him back down. She murmured a single, soft word. Continue. Her voice was faint, but it carried an undeniable command. Liam was breathing heavily. But I'm going to be late for work. Cassandra squinted at him, a single eyebrow raised. You're already late. What's a little longer? Fine. You said it. Liam tossed his clothes aside and, like a wolf, pounced once more. Where's my factory guy? Production team. What are you doing? Where is he? Who the hell tunes into your live stream on time if it's not to see the factory guy? Seriously? Are you just going to make Riley Thorne carry the whole show by herself? The moment the live stream started and the camera locked on Riley, the chat exploded. On screen, Riley was sitting quietly reading a book, and the camera was only showing her back. They weren't even giving her a proper shot. The hundreds of thousands of viewers who had been waiting patiently were massively disappointed. In an instant, the show's official social media accounts were spammed into oblivion. Even when Brandon Jung personally posted an explanation that Liam was sick, the angry comments kept flooding in. All because Liam was absent. They didn't dare give Riley a close-up or even turn on her mic because her expression was thunderous. Ugh, I can't with these two, she muttered to herself, just off mic. Having fun in their room while I have to be on camera by myself. Arg, why am I the one who has to suffer? Can't you two just show up to work on time? Facing away from the camera, Riley was practically tearing the stuffing out of the giant teddy bear in her lap. She was filled with righteous indignation. She just didn't get it. Liam had rejected her sister's gift, which meant he didn't like her, right? So if he didn't like her, how could they be holed up in a room together for this long? Was brother Liam just playing hard to get? The logic didn't add up. Riley counted on her fingers. Liam didn't like her sister, but her sister liked Liam. That meant it was a forced relationship. But the problem was, when Liam was on the boat, he seemed so at ease, so free. How could he willingly become her sister's prisoner? It was now 6:30. As far as she knew, Liam had gone to her sister's room at 10 this morning. That was 8.5 hours ago. Could that really last that long? Riley was baffled. If you calculated it out, that was a third of the day spent on that. There'd be no time left to just chill and be a deadbeat. Wait, hold on. If she thought about it that way, if she managed to get those two together, wouldn't her sister be too busy to manage her? Then she wouldn't have to run off to some foreign country. She could stay right here and do whatever she wanted, and her sister wouldn't have the time to stop her. In a flash, the logic clicked into place. The only man fit to be her brother-in-law was Liam. She glanced at a crew member, then whipped around to face the camera, a brilliant smile spreading across her face. Brother Liam isn't feeling well and can't join the stream tonight. To make it up to all of you, how about I dance for you? Her voice was picked up by the microphone, and the viewers in the chat went wild. Is it the new group dance? I'll carry the flag for Riley. Riley's dancing. Everyone get your glow sticks ready. Guys, this is live. Riley's concert tickets cost thousands. Prepare to be amazed. As virtual glow sticks flooded the chat, Riley slowly stood up. A crew member shrewdly moved the chair out of the way. She set the giant bear down. As the music started, her graceful figure began to move in front of camera. In an instant, the hashtag Riley Thorne Solo started trending, and the angry comments subsided. Seeing the situation stabilize, Brandon Jung, whose scalp was numb from all the backlash, finally breathed a sigh of relief. He stared at the live stream and swallowed hard. No matter what he'd said earlier, Riley had just sat there fuming. But now, she was being so proactive that she had change of heart. His gaze drifted uncontrollably to Riley. Brandon was starting to get a little jealous of his good brother. The viewers thought this was all a publicity stunt, but only those on the production team knew the truth. This wasn't a stunt. Riley Thorne was genuinely interested in Liam. Where the hell did his brother get this kind of luck to have someone like Riley fall for him? It was 7 p.m. by the time Liam emerged from Cassandra's suite. After their 2.5-hour activity, he was, frankly, a little tired. Not that Cassandra was any better off. He could at least stand up and walk out of the room. Cassandra had long since passed out. As he pulled the door open, Liam saw Evelyn Reed scrolling on her phone, slacking off. The moment she saw him, she scrambled to put her phone away. A corner of Liam's mouth twitched. "You can keep playing," he said coolly. "Your boss is asleep." Evelyn's hand froze. She looked at Liam, surprised. "The boss is asleep?" she asked. "Yeah." Liam nodded. He was about to leave when he remembered something. He turned back, his gaze flickering toward the two hulking bodyguards standing like statues at the door. He cleared his throat and couldn't help but ask, you guys didn't hear any noises, did you?" "Noises? What noises?" Evelyn looked at him, confused, then instinctively explained, "This is a 5-star resort hotel. The soundproofing is excellent." Liam let out a sigh of relief. "Good to know." He didn't linger. "I'm heading back to my room, then. The show should be live by now." Mumbling to himself, he walked away. Watching Liam's retreating back, Evelyn frowned. Why would he ask about noises? Could it be that he'd done something terrible to her boss and was afraid they heard? The thought set off alarm bells in Evelyn's mind. She immediately pushed open the door to the suite and rushed inside. But the moment she stepped past the entryway, she was stunned by the scene before her. The room, which had been spotlessly clean earlier, now looked like a fierce battle had taken place. The bedsheets were pulled halfway on the floor, the comforter and pillows were scattered everywhere. It was a complete mess. The spot where Cassandra lay, however, was neatly arranged. She was wrapped in a blanket, sleeping soundly. Seeing this, Evelyn swallowed hard. Anyone would know what had happened here. Damn, these two are wild. Liam looked so refined and gentle, who would have thought? And she was even more surprised that her boss would be so uninhibited. Looking at it this way, they really were a perfect match. Evelyn didn't dare to breathe, let alone let her imagination run wild. She was about to tiptoe out when Cassandra's voice, light as a feather, drifted from the bed. "What time is it?" As if completely drained of energy, her voice was faint, without a trace of its usual strength. Evelyn took a deep breath, her heart pounding as she checked the time. "Miss, it's 7 o'clock. "Oh," Cassandra acknowledged. Her voice was incredibly weak, but filled with absolute possessiveness. "Go tell Liam. After the show, he's to sleep here." Again, a shiver ran down Evelyn's spine, but she would never dare to question her boss's orders. "Yes, I understand, miss," she replied quickly, then left. Liam, having freshened up, had just left his room when he ran into Evelyn. Her cheeks were flushed, and her eyes darted around nervously as she spoke. Mr. Lynn, the boss said, after the show ends, you are to go to her room." Liam's mouth twitched. This woman was incredible. Even after all that, she wasn't going to let him go. He'd thought she was asleep. "All right, I got it," Liam nodded. As he turned to leave, he said to Evelyn, "I'm heading to the shoot now." He then walked away. Evelyn didn't dare to look at him for too long and hurried back to her post outside Cassandra's door. Downstairs, it was time for dinner. Because the two shows were filming separately, the cast members were eating in two different restaurants. Misty Rain and the others were in the dining room near the base of the stairs. Just as Liam reached the bottom floor and walked past the restaurant entrance, Misty Rain, who was on camera, spotted him. She immediately used the excuse of going to the bathroom to intercept him. As Liam was heading toward the restaurant where Riley was, he heard Misty's voice from behind. "Mr. Lynn." Liam paused, turning around in confusion. Misty Rain walked toward him gracefully, a bright smile on her face. "Mr. Lynn, I heard you were sick. Are you feeling any better now?" "Sick?" Must have been the excuse Brandon came up with. Liam instantly understood and nodded. "A little better." Misty blinked, then suddenly took 2 steps forward, standing right in front of him. "You should take good care of yourself, Mr. Lynn. The weather on this island is so unpredictable. Your health is the most important thing." He didn't even know Misty Rain. They had seen each other, at most, but had never spoken a word. For her to suddenly show such concern. If she didn't have some ulterior motive, he'd eat his hat. A Cassandra and a Riley were already more than he could handle. Liam had no interest in getting involved with any more of them. He just nodded curtly. "Thank you for the advice, Miss Rain." His cool response clearly surprised Misty. She was a beauty influencer with millions of followers. While she couldn't compare to Riley, she was very confident in her appearance. Even Julian, the CEO, was always polite to her, but not Liam. This only strengthened her conviction that Liam had powerful backers. This was a rare opportunity. Her eyes flickered. She was about to step forward and grab his arm to chat a bit more. But just as her hand was about to touch him, Riley's voice rang out. "Brother Liam, you're here." Having spotted Liam through the restaurant's glass wall, Riley rushed over excitedly. The live stream chat instantly lit up. "Factory guy's fever broke. Is he feeling better? He better make it up to our baby Riley," she held down the fort all by herself. As she arrived, Riley saw Misty in front of Liam and immediately understood. She blinked, her voice laced with innocent curiosity. "Sister Misty, aren't you going to keep Brother Julian company?" Her voice wasn't loud, but it was dripping with wide-eyed curiosity. She even deliberately pressed herself closer to Liam's side. Instantly, Misty's face went pale. The livestream audience noticed the exchange immediately. "What's Misty Rain doing here? I want to see Riley and Liam. Is she trying to get with Liam? She looks like she's up to no good. You little schemer. Try to cut in line? Factory guy belongs to our Riley. Get lost." Even though no one on set had their phones, the cameras were right there. As a longtime internet personality, Misty knew exactly what the consequences of Riley's words would be. Her eyes darkened. She quickly said, "Miss Thorne, you've misunderstood. I was just on my way to the restroom and happened to run into Mr. Lin, so we exchanged a few pleasantries." As she spoke, she shot a smile at Liam, praying he would help her explain. She never would have guessed that Liam had no interest in getting involved in other people's drama. Meeting Misty's pleading gaze, Liam simply stuffed his hands into his pockets, the very picture of someone who couldn't care less. Riley pouted, looking at Misty with an expression of pure innocence. "Oh, I thought you were trying to steal Brother Liam from me, Sister Misty. I guess I just misunderstood." Her words were direct, hitting their mark perfectly. Viewers who hadn't been thinking that way were now completely led by her narrative. Misty froze on the spot, momentarily speechless. To make matters worse, Riley then looked at her with an apologetic expression. "I'm so sorry, Miss Rain. I guess I just overreacted." With that one move, the live stream chat exploded. "Riley, why are you apologizing? It's obvious she was trying to steal Liam from you. Factory guy belongs to Riley and no one else. Get that green tea bitch out of here. She's so annoying. Can we vote Misty Rain off the island? Why does she have to come out and cause trouble?" Even without seeing the comments, Misty knew what was happening. She had just wanted to exchange a few words with Liam. She never thought Riley would cut her off. Not only had Riley been leading the narrative since the show began, but now she was being made out to be the bad guy. And the worst part was, she had to accept this apology. Misty shot a venomous glare at Riley, then forced a smile. It's fine. I have to get back to filming anyway, so I won't disturb you." With that, she practically fled the scene. Off camera, after watching Misty's retreat, Riley looked at Liam expectantly. "Brother Liam, aren't you going to praise me? I just got rid of a green tea for you." Liam's mouth twitched. "Lady, as the person involved here, I'm pretty sure you're the real green tea." Still, Riley's actions had saved him a lot of trouble. To be honest, Liam had no idea why these women were all falling for him. He had done nothing. He was constantly late for filming. What could they possibly see in him? But having Riley as a human shield was undeniably useful. He raised his eyes slightly. "Nicely done." Receiving Liam's praise, Riley practically vibrated with joy. She pressed herself against him, nudging his arm with her shoulder excitedly. "Brother Liam, let's go. Time to eat." Liam grunted. He really was hungry. After resting for a bit, his stomach was already growling. He didn't resist, following Riley into the restaurant. It was the same as always. He focused on his food, devouring it like a wolf, while Riley sat across from him, a smile on her face, her eyes fixed on him with an unreadable expression. After dinner and a little more small talk with Riley, the live stream came to an end. Though there hadn't been much physical contact, the audience was still shipping them like crazy. A romance should be a slow burn, they reasoned. Besides, they had only just met. This was already fast progress. When the broadcast ended, Liam went straight to Cassandra's suite. The recessed floor lighting was on, casting a warm, ambient glow throughout the room. The bedsheets and comforter had been tidied up, and Cassandra was lying on the bed, sleeping peacefully. Seeing this, Liam instinctively tried not to disturb her. After all, when she was asleep, he had to endure less of her torment. However, as the door clicked shut, Cassandra's voice drifted through the quiet room. "Work's over." Liam swallowed. "Yes," he answered truthfully. Cassandra shifted lazily, propping herself up. "Come here and massage my back." Walking around the foot of the bed, his gaze fell on her. The warm light caressed her face, and Liam couldn't help but marvel. She truly was beautiful. Sweat-dampened strands of hair clung to her cheeks, framing her exquisite features. Her expression, usually so noble and cold, now held a trace of alluring charm. Below that was her bewitching figure, the deep curve of her waist accentuating her perfect proportions, her legs long and slender. It was a scene that would test any man's self-control. Liam took a deep breath, sat on the edge of the bed, placed a hand on her, and said, "Could you move a little, Miss Thorne?" Cassandra didn't reply, but she obediently turned onto her side, her back facing him. Afraid she would be uncomfortable, Liam reached for a pillow and placed it under her neck. It was his first time giving anyone a massage, but he'd seen plenty of videos online and knew a few techniques. Cassandra was tall for a woman, and her frame was lean but not bony. Her waist was slender, but there was a soft, yielding quality to her skin. It wasn't at all bony to the touch. Apparently pleased with his technique, Cassandra asked out of the blue, "Do you do this for people often?" Liam started to answer, but then sensed the underlying meaning of the question. He thought for a moment and shook his head. "No, this is the first time." Cassandra's eyes widened slightly. She looked at him from the side, her gaze scrutinizing. "Really?" Her cold stare made his scalp tingle. "Of course," he said honestly. "If you don't believe me, you can have your people investigate." She stared at him for a few seconds, seeming to decide he was telling the truth. "Good," she replied, sounding pleased. Then she murmured, "Then we still have many firsts to experience." Her voice trailed off, becoming nearly inaudible by the end of the sentence. Liam's heart tightened. "What?" he asked instinctively. He heard no reply. He slowly stopped his movements and looked down. Cassandra's eyes were closed, her brow furrowed with exhaustion. She had fallen into a deep sleep. Liam sighed inaudibly. He was about to get up and move to the sofa when he felt Cassandra's small hand clutching the hem of his shirt. As if sensing his movement, she frowned and mumbled unconsciously, "Don't go. Stay with me." Liam couldn't tell if she was talking in her sleep or if this was real. The woman in this state was a world away from the decisive, ruthless leader he knew. If he hadn't already experienced her other side, he would have thought she was just a pitiful young girl. But now, he couldn't bring himself to feel any sympathy for her. The things she had done, the method she had used that had nearly killed him. No sane person could feel pity. He callously tried to pry her fingers off, but as if sensing his intent, she clamped down even tighter, her hand now grasping his. Helpless and afraid of waking her, Liam had no choice but to lie down beside her. Her leg immediately came to rest over his, trapping him in a sort of bear hug. "Trapped again," he sighed, looking at the sleeping Cassandra with a complex expression. "Fine, I'll stay for now." Once he fulfilled his promise, he needed to start seriously planning his escape route. Staring at the ceiling, contemplating the road ahead, Liam eventually drifted off to sleep. The room was silent, the only sound the even rhythm of their breathing. He slept soundly. When he woke up, it was 8 in the morning. He opened his eyes to find Cassandra staring at him. "You're finally awake, Miss Thorne," Liam said with a look of pure exasperation. God knows, he'd woken up to find her entire body draped over him. For a second, he'd thought he was having sleep paralysis. A small smile touched Cassandra's lips. It was the first time she had slept so well. Lying next to this dangerous man, she hadn't felt a shred of anxiety. Instead, she was filled with a sense of security, a feeling Liam had given her. In a great mood, she propped her head up on her hand. "Go get ready for your show," she said, her voice uncharacteristically gentle. If only he could ignore the sick, possessive gleam in her eyes. Liam quickly nodded and got up. "All right, Miss Thorne, I'll be off to work then." With that, he left. The day was a repeat of the one before. Breakfast with Riley, followed by a trip to the beach where Liam played photographer while Riley splashed in the water. She didn't make any more aggressive moves. Their dynamic had settled into something more like a brother and sister. She would mess around, and he would smile. However, Liam's habit of ignoring Riley during meals was starting to wear thin on the audience. There had to be a limit to his aloof act, right? Every time he was on camera, he would wolf down his food like he hadn't eaten in weeks. What the viewers didn't know was that Liam was living a double life. While they thought he was just working out off camera, he was actually being shuttled between the Thorne sisters, filming during the day, and then spending his nights with Cassandra. His only time for himself was during meals. In just 2 days, despite eating massive amounts of food, he was visibly thinner. Liam had also underestimated Cassandra's possessiveness. Outside of filming, every single moment of his time belonged to her. It had now escalated to the point where he even had to use the bathroom in her suite. The feeling was becoming suffocating. "Noelle Hamilton arrives tomorrow." As Liam came out of the bathroom, Cassandra's voice, slow and deliberate, cut through the air from the sofa. Her scrutinizing gaze swept over him, a clear hint of a test in her eyes. At her words, Liam smiled. That's right. It was time for him to make his move. Noticing the fierce glint in Liam's eyes, Cassandra raised an eyebrow and said lazily, "Do you need my help?" "No need." Without a second thought, Liam flatly refused, adding, "As long as Riley is there, it's fine." He meant he would use Riley as a shield. Green tea versus green tea. The winner would be a sight to behold. He had no idea that this simple sentence would ignite a raging inferno of fury in Cassandra's heart. Why? Her voice was hoarse, simmering with a barely contained rage. She stared at him, her gaze a cold, sharp point. With her there, you don't need me? The air was thick with the bitter scent of jealousy. Liam could smell it, and he instantly understood. Cassandra was jealous. Ever since he'd realized she had feelings for him, he had tried to keep his distance. He couldn't handle her brand of love. If it weren't for their agreement, he never would have come to her room as promised. This twisted, abnormal romance was not what he wanted. He just hadn't expected her feelings to have already reached this level of intensity. Seeing the cold fire in her eyes, Liam sighed and explained, Riley has a certain talent for dealing with green tea types. Wouldn't it be more fun for us to watch them fight it out? His explanation landed. Cassandra understood. She raised an eyebrow, looking at him with surprise. So, he was just using her sister as a tool. Liam really was different with her now than he was before. He had refused her help on something she could solve with a single phone call, and instead suggested they watch the drama together. Us. The word struck Cassandra's heart like a hammer. In that moment, she suddenly felt that she was different from everyone else in Liam's eyes. He saw her as one of his own. An unexpected wave of joy washed over her, and her mood instantly brightened. A good idea, she praised, the anger in her eyes dissipating, replaced by a flicker of delight. But, she asked, how do you know she'll help you? Liam shrugged, nonchalantly, sinking into the sofa across from her. A gut feeling. Cassandra fell silent. She didn't press the issue. She would let Liam's plan play out. For everything else, she would be waiting. If he said the word, she would clean up the mess for him. Liam had no idea what was going through her mind. Seeing the smile return to the corners of her eyes, he let out a silent sigh of relief. Time flew by, and soon it was the next day. Liam was filming with Riley as usual. They had grown tired of the water sports, so they set up fishing rods on the beach. After all, a big show was about to start. At 9:30 a.m., the production team's boat appeared on the horizon. The moment he saw it, a smirk played on Liam's lips. Off camera, he said to Riley with a grin, the show's about to begin. What show? Riley turned her head, confused. She had spent all her free time planning her fabulous new life in the States and hadn't bothered to keep up with the gossip. Liam didn't answer, just watched silently as the boat approached the shore. The camera panned to follow it. On board, Noelle Hamilton appeared, dressed in a haute couture gown. She smiled at the camera and began her introduction. Hi everyone, I'm Noelle Hamilton from Hamilton Logistics. I'm so happy to be joining the show. As she introduced herself, the live stream chat exploded. Is this a new guest? Hamilton? I think I've heard of them. Isn't that the company that got rich in the last few years? I heard their CEO's son went missing, and it was a huge news story. They just found him recently. Yeah, I think so. Man, I'm so jealous of that kid. Comes home and inherits a multi-million-dollar company and gets 3 sisters. I already yelled at my dad, but he still won't admit he secretly owns a company/troll face. Off camera, Riley, who had been fishing peacefully, turned her head, her expression wary. Her? Do you know her? Know her? You have no idea. Liam raised an eyebrow, a little surprised that Riley hadn't investigated his past. He played dumb, saying mysteriously, an old acquaintance. He wasn't sure what Riley's intentions were, but based on the fact that she was Cassandra's sister and had already staked her claim on him in front of the cameras, she definitely wouldn't want anyone else horning in. Her confrontation with Misty Rain yesterday had made that perfectly clear. With that in mind, Liam added more fuel to the fire. You keep fishing. I'm going to go say hi. We're old friends, after all. He was doing it on purpose, watching her reaction out of the corner of his eye. Sure enough, Riley freaked out. No way. We agreed to fish together. You can't just ditch me, she said, throwing down her fishing rod. She stood up and pointed at Liam, bossing him around. Liam, you are absolutely not allowed to go over there. If she dares to show her face here, I'll take care of her. This is my future brother-in-law. I can't let someone else snatch him away. Her expression and tone were a mirror image of Cassandra's. This was exactly the result Liam wanted. But her anger wasn't quite at the level he needed. Liam feigned a difficult position. I can't do that. She's an old friend. We used to talk on the phone all the time. It would be rude not to go over. Talked on the phone all the time. Alarm bells went off in Riley's head, connecting that with the factory guy's girlfriend post-she'd seen and what Liam was implying. Could this woman be Liam's ex-girlfriend? No, absolutely not. If Liam got back together with his ex, who would be there to keep her sister in check? Besides, her idol, a master of romance, couldn't possibly get back together with an ex. A good horse doesn't go back to old pastures. Riley was about to say more when, from behind them, Noelle's voice suddenly rang out. Liam? What a coincidence. You're here too. Her words stunned everyone present. The live stream chat scrolled by at a frantic pace. This factory guy knows someone from the Hamilton family? Whoa, I told you this guy had a background, and you didn't believe me. You think a normal person could get on this show? I think I remember something. Wasn't there a news story about a Liam beating up a Jason Hamilton? Holy crap, could it really be them? Damn, this is getting good. Pass the popcorn. This show is insane, guys. I love it. Meanwhile, Misty, Rain, and the others, who had been watching from a distance, were also shocked. Could it be that Liam's backer was the Hamilton family? But a book out the entire 7th floor. That seemed beyond the Hamiltons' means. Before Liam could even move, Riley stepped in front of him, glaring daggers at Noelle. Ex-girlfriends can go die in a ditch for all I care, she thought. There's no way Noelle is getting past me today. Liam belongs to my sister. Seeing this, Noelle was a little surprised. But her next sentence was like a stone dropped into a calm lake, sending ripples of shock through the crowd. You seem to be doing pretty well for yourself. After you assaulted my brother and framed him for a near-fatal car accident. All those things, you still haven't apologized. I knew it, it's him. I knew that factory guy name sounded familiar. Wasn't he fired from Zenith Corp because of this? Wait, why would the show cast someone like this? The guy has serious character issues. I've been shipping him for days, and now you're telling me he's a scumbag? I don't know. He doesn't seem like the type. In an instant, the internet was buzzing. The hashtag Noelle demands apology shot to the top of the trending list, with over 200 million views. Riley was stunned. She whipped her head around to look at Liam, shocked. She's not your ex-girlfriend? Noelle let out a short, sharp laugh. She looked at Riley, her expression deceptively friendly. Little sister, don't tell me you were fooled by him. He's a heartless piece of work. I won't let you talk about brother Liam like that. Riley snapped, her eyes blazing as she stared down Noelle. Seeing this, Noelle shot a surprised look at Liam. You really are good, aren't you? You got them all wrapped around your little finger. If she hadn't realized in time that Liam had never intended to make her famous, she too would have been moved by his righteous act. He had told her he'd spent money to pull strings for her, told her to just focus on her acting, when in reality, it was for a bit part in some third-rate production. And she had actually been grateful to him. Thinking back on how she'd been deceived, Noelle's patience ran out. Her face contorted with anger as she glared at Liam. Well, when are you going to apologize to my brother? Faced with such an accusation, Liam just found it amusing. He raised an eyebrow, ignoring Noelle completely and turning instead to Riley. Miss Thorne, do you think what she's saying is true or false? Riley, still standing protectively in front of him, blinked. She looked up at Liam, then shook her head without a moment's hesitation. False. Liam was genuinely surprised. He'd expected her to say she wasn't sure, or something similar. You trust me that much? He asked. Of course. Riley nodded firmly. I know what kind of person you are, brother Liam. I can make my own judgments. Her declaration stunned everyone. The live stream chat exploded again. Miss Thorne, you can't judge a book by its cover. Maybe you should dig a little deeper. I don't think Liam seems like the type to assault someone either. Besides, if he really beat up a Hamilton, you think they wouldn't have retaliated by now. Exactly. They didn't even call the cops. I bet this whole thing is fake. Then why would Noelle slander Liam? For clout, obviously. On the beach, Noelle's face turned pale as she heard Riley's words. Her voice became shrill. Your own judgment? He almost got Jason killed in a car accident. These are facts. What kind of a good person do you think you know? Hearing someone insult her future brother-in-law to her face, Riley was furious. She was about to retort when she heard Liam's voice. You say I framed him, that I almost caused a car accident. Do you have any proof? Riley immediately jumped in. Yeah, show us the proof. Noelle hadn't expected Liam to be so confrontational. In the past, he had always been humble and kind. He had never lost his temper with her. But now, seeing Noelle hesitate, Riley understood. She sidled up closer to Liam and said with a saccharine smile, Miss, you say my brother Liam hurt your brother. You have to show evidence. Making false accusations. That's slander, you know. She blinked, feigning curiosity. Or could it be, you're just making up excuses to get close to brother Liam for some free publicity? Though Riley's words were dripping with green tea hypocrisy, the livestream audience was completely swayed. Liam, his hand resting on his fishing rod, just calmly watched the water, as if he weren't the subject of this entire drama. Noelle was clearly losing. Her face was ashen. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore and pointed at Riley, screaming, What more proof do you need? We have my brother's hospital records. Ask him. If he hadn't beaten my brother, do you think you would have agreed to leave our family with nothing?" Her demeanor had completely flipped from the elegant woman who had stepped off the boat, now resembling a common shrew. Liam didn't even turn his head. "I should remind you, Miss Hamilton," he said coolly, "I hit your brother after I left the family." "You hear that? My brother Liam was out of the family," Riley parroted, then paused, realizing what she'd said. "Brother Liam, you really did hit him?" Noelle was instantly triumphant. "Ah, the truth comes out." "Of course I did," Liam said, still staring at the water, his tone flat. He was taking pictures of girls changing. He refused to admit it. "As a security guard, it was my duty." "Miss," Riley gasped, her eyes now filled with adoration. "Brother Liam, you did the right thing. A guy like that, hitting him was letting him off easy. He deserved it." "You?" Noelle, whose triumph had been short-lived, was now fuming. "You say my brother was a peeping Tom? What proof do you have?" Liam glanced at Noelle out of the corner of his eye, a humorless smile on his face. "Ma'am, there were security cameras." In an instant, Noelle froze. "Security cameras? Izzy never told me there were security cameras." "Even so, you shouldn't have hit Jason. Our family raised you for so many years, and this is how you repay us? Dad was right to call you an ungrateful snake." "Raised him?" Riley froze again, looking at Liam. The camera immediately zoomed in on him. As the internet buzzed, Liam just held his fishing rod, looking out at the sea with a flat expression. His voice was cold. "An ungrateful snake?" "Back then, Hamilton Industries was just a small shop. I built it from nothing to what it is today. The moment your brother came back, I knew it was my time to leave. To repay the Hamilton family for raising me, I chose to walk away with nothing." His voice was detached, his calm expression as still as a fishing line in the water. He slowly turned his head, his eyes empty as he asked, "So tell me, Noelle, do you think that wasn't enough?" He spoke as if he were telling someone else's story, but his tone sent shockwaves through the audience. Off camera, Cassandra paused with her teacup halfway to her lips, watching Liam on screen. He was so calm, yet she felt as if his heart had been shattered into a million pieces. Only someone who had experienced the depths of sorrow could possess such an emotion. For no reason at all, her heart ached for him. Riley stared at Liam with wide eyes. As the first to react, she forgot her sister's warnings. She couldn't stop herself from grabbing Liam's arm tightly, her eyes filled with sympathy. "Brother, don't hold it in. It's okay to cry if you want to. That's so tragic. Is that why Factory Guy is so jaded? If that happened to me, I'd have a total breakdown." And he left the company to them. "Factory Guy, what am I supposed to say to you? The Hamiltons are so shameless. Just the other day, I saw that Penelope Hamilton showing off a new bag on TikTok. In an instant, the entire livestream audience was moved. Seeing the pity in Riley's eyes, Liam felt a sudden urge to laugh. Cry? What would I cry about? For them? He subtly pulled his arm away and turned back to the sea. Noelle's face was deathly pale. Realizing the cameras were still on her, she raised her voice. "Liam, don't you dare twist the truth. It was you who framed Jason time and time again. You tampered with his brakes. If my sister hadn't discovered it in time, Jason would be dead." Growing more agitated, Noelle seemed to throw all caution to the wind. "Dad was right to kick you out. What, voluntarily leaving with nothing? You're nothing but an ungrateful snake. What proof do you have that my brother Liam did it?" Before Liam could respond, Riley shot back. "I think the one twisting the truth is you green tea bitch. You're the green tea bitch. If he says he didn't do it, let him show the proof." Noelle's eyes were red with rage. The atmosphere was thick with tension. Faced with the two warring women, Liam hadn't originally planned to rehash the past. The Hamiltons had, after all, raised him. He wasn't a heartless person. But now, since they insisted on dragging him through the mud time and time again, he wouldn't be showing any mercy. Liam turned his head slowly, his gaze landing on Noelle. "Are you sure you want to show the proof?" he asked softly. "Show it. Show it if you have the guts." Noelle was so incensed she didn't even stop to analyze the meaning behind his words, just reflexively screamed her demand. Liam shrugged nonchalantly and handed his fishing rod to Riley. "Miss Thorne, could you hold this for me?" Riley's mouth twitched. "Seriously, dude? At a time like this, you're still worried about your stupid fish?" Though she was complaining internally, she obediently took the rod. Liam slowly stood up, his height giving him a commanding presence as he looked down at Noelle. "All right," he said, his voice dropping. "You asked for this." He turned to a nearby crew member. "Could you please bring me my phone?" Brandon Jung had anticipated this, so Liam's phone had already been brought to the island and was in the hands of cameraman. As she watched the cameraman hand the phone to Liam, a flicker of doubt entered Noelle's mind. Could it be? He really has something. No, Jason had been raised by a simple farming family. He was tempered by hardship. He was a good person. After he returned, the family had worried he'd be corrupted by money. But for the past 2 months, aside from a few curious visits to high-end places, he had been incredibly well-behaved. Their parents cooked lavish meals for him, 10 dishes at a time, and Jason would complain it was wasteful. Such a sensible, sweet kid would never frame someone. Liam, on the other hand, was a silver-tongued devil. So he'd helped the company achieve some success. What was the big deal? To be so petty about it? What kind of man was he? Liam was just bluffing. Realizing this, Noelle glared at Liam, her voice dripping with scorn. Liam, I used to be grateful to you for everything you did for us. But now I see you're just a deeply manipulative person. I'm an adult now, Noelle said, doubling down, convinced he was bluffing. You can't fool me. In reality, Liam wasn't paying her any attention at all. He turned his head to Riley. Miss Thorne, mind if I use your account to post something? Riley immediately nodded. Of course, no problem. I have more followers. Use my account. She took Liam's phone, logged into her own social media, and handed it back. Here. Thanks, Liam said, and then uploaded the 3 videos he had been saving for a long time. There was one of Jason secretly spiking his own drink, one of him faking a fall in the office, and most importantly, one showing him sabotaging the brakes in the car. The viewers on the front lines of the drama had never had such a satisfying meal. Instantly, Riley's follower count, which had been at 5 million, jumped by 300,000, and the numbers were still climbing. In just 3 minutes, the post was trending, marked with a bright red #viral tag. #Noelle got owned viraluser comments. Never had such a satisfying serving of tea. Factory guy, you are my god. El Mayo, is this how rich families operate? These schemes are older than my grandpa. What rich family? They're just a small company. They were only doing okay when Liam was there. I heard all their partners have pulled out now. Is this company about to go bankrupt? Is Noelle just trying to clout chase? I can't, you guys. Go look at the terrible movies Noelle has been in. I'm making them into memes. Send me some. +1 foot. On the beach, Riley stared at the flood of replies on her post, then looked at Liam, dumbfounded. Brother Liam, you had this evidence this whole time? Why didn't you show it sooner? I didn't expect someone to be so relentless, Liam replied with a smile. In reality, if he had released it sooner, would it have gotten this much attention? He smiled at Noelle, then feigned a wounded expression. I never intended to release this, but they just kept dragging my name through the mud. I really had no choice. It was a classic green tea statement. Riley's eyes lit up. She immediately understood her role and put on a pained expression, looking at Liam. Brother Liam, you're just too kind. She even wiped the corner of her eye, as if she were so moved she was crying. Watching the drama unfold, Cassandra was thoroughly entertained, especially when Liam pushed Riley away again. It seems he remembers my words, she thought. She reached out, tracing Liam's face on the screen with her finger, her index finger teasing his chin. Nicely done, my little pet, she praised, her eyes curving into a smile as she continued to murmur. Now, let me add a little more fuel to the fire. With a look of pure delight, she picked up her phone and sent a message to Haley Liu, ordering her to release the security footage from the Zenith Corp conference room, under the company's official name. With Zenith Corp itself releasing the footage, showing Jason Hamilton skulking up to the lounge door, ass in the air as he peeped through the crack, the court of public opinion delivered its final verdict. Anyone who had been neutral or skeptical before was now firmly on Liam's side. In the span of half an hour, the Hamilton family's reputation was utterly destroyed.